Welcome to MistGames, Heroes of Lofoten. I'm joined here by Masonic's coach, Toby, who caught probably one of the biggest fishes today. I want to ask you about the game we got later on today. Masonic versus Astralis Talent. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
I think Masonic has the edge because they already played one game on land, so they know the environment a little bit better than the Astralis boys. And I think, you can say that the Astralis has one experienced player in Subnex, and Masonic just has three other guys that has more experience, in my opinion. And I think the yelling from Masonic will get into Astralis' head later, so I think Masonic will take it.
Well, let's see if there's much of a catch in this Danish derby.
Well, I'm certainly sure that there will be a catch in today's semi-final action. The cold of Lofoten will not damper the heat of Masonic versus Astralis Talent. Welcome to the MistGames Heroes of Lofoten. I'm the Eternal Jay. I'm joined by Dwayne as per usual for today's semi-final action. Rolf's also here as well, and for that, we'll get to that in a little bit of a second. But Dwayne, mate, this match certainly has got the makings of an epic confrontation today.
I think it has a very similar presence to probably what your game had against Young Ninjas. The fact that it is a national derby, it's on land, both teams are trying to make a statement. Both teams are looking to try and get that extra step further to making it into the grand finals.
Well, before we get to that, as you saw, of course, they were we brought some of the players and Dwayne out on a fishing boat earlier on this afternoon, and we actually had some incredible catches, actually. Dwayne, you were mentioning that Toby's actually caught one of the biggest fish out there, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Toby's did pretty well. Rolf, I mean, how hard was that?
I mean, it was really heavy, actually. It was like 15 kilos or something, so it's the biggest fish I've ever gotten, so that was an experience.
It certainly is a pretty big fish. Do you actually remember the actual size or weight of the thing?
Yeah, I think it was 15 kilograms or something.
15 kilograms?
Yeah.
Damn, that's a big fish. In fact, it is so big that it was the biggest fish that you guys caught out of everybody on that particular fishing trip. So how does that make you feel?
That feels great. I was probably the most excited for this fishing trip out of all, probably because I'm from a forest and I like the nature and like fishing and stuff. So yeah, I was really excited for the trip.
Well, from what I understand, Rolf decided to actually let that fish go back into the wild, so he has no trophy of his successes. So in fact, what we've done here at MistGames is actually we've gone ahead and gotten you your own trophy that says Best Fisher Heroes of Lofoten 2023. That is for you, my friend. Congratulations, you won that much at least.
So, amazing.
Yeah, awesome. And you could go on to do even more perhaps in the future.
Yeah, maybe.
Awesome.
Probably come here once.
He'll be back next time. He'll be back next time to defend his title. But look, man, congratulations on that. Give me some quick thoughts about Astralis versus Masonic.
I think it's probably going to be a pretty close game. I think, Astralis have been looking pretty good recently. And I haven't seen Masonic that much lately. But they played surprisingly good the first map, the first game here against Mouse. So I don't know, it could be a 50-50 game in my opinion.
I'm certainly of that particular mindset. Let's take a look at the bracket and show you exactly how we got to this point. Thanks so much for joining us, Rolf, of course. And of course, as you can see, Astralis Talent versus Masonic, our semi-final match today. 0-0 prospects waiting in the wings to see whether or not they will receive one or the other Danish squad in this particular case. As you mentioned, though, Dwayne, Masonic, the 2-0 over Mouse and XT did particularly well in their quarterfinal game. The 16-6, especially over that Mouse squad, that was quite an effort.
Yeah, it was indeed. Their map pick of Overpass. We know that Mouse and XT decided to start on the T side, and I think Masonic played with a lot of creativity. They allowed themselves to get off to a good beginning, and just overall for the Masonic side, this is going to be a huge confidence boost to have a series where you're not dropping a map, that you're going through, you're having a strong map pick, and now you're going into a Danish derby where it is going to be a tough game.
Well, we'll be, of course, breaking things down and giving our opinions as to who we think we can win. Of course, you yourselves at home can also discuss who you think is going to win over on Twitter at MistGamesGG. Astralis Talent or Masonic, you can vote right now and we'll see exactly where the people stand when it comes to the Danish derby of Lofoten. We're now joined by Slend here in the, I'm still calling it the throne room, I think is what we're going with. I'm still yet to find the official name for it, but Slend, obviously you've got some major experience in this kind of a matchup because you, of course, took on Masonic in that quarterfinal proceeding. Give me some quick insights as to what that team are made of.
I think they are really tough team to play against. They are really playing well together. And what I noticed is that they never really give up. And like we were leading 11-4, and then they just believed in themselves, I guess, and kept playing and never gave up. And they sadly got the better of us.
And I even want to add to that to think you're probably going to be in situations for Masonic in this series where you're down by rounds. You're in uncomfortable situations. So the fact that they were able to bounce back against the Mouse NXT side after what is a huge deficit, still put on a very good performance and come through with a 2-0, Masonic know that we can't give up. We're always in it. And I think it showed particularly in that last map of the series for them.
Yeah, I look at Masonic and I think that they've also got like a little bit of an edge in the sense that they've got like a bit of playing time already. So far, they've had that little bit of like a run up into the semi-finals. At the same time, though, Astralis sat there already. They've not played a match. They have got all their cards held close to their chest. Slend, in your particular case, obviously being a player in this tournament, would you have preferred to have come from the quarterfinals or be in the semis by default?
I think we started in a quarterfinals, and I think it was better because we have gotten more time to experience the LAN environment and everything. But sadly, we failed on the first game, and we couldn't go more and play in the semifinals or the finals. But I think it's definitely better to start in the quarterfinals because you get more used to it than just starting from the semifinals and then playing against a team who already played.
I want to jump in here as well because obviously, Slend, you're the newest player to Mouse NXT. We know that this Masonic side's actually only played 7 best-of-3s since having a core 5. Is that first stretch of matches always the most difficult? Because right here, they've got a lot to play for. They're in a semi-final on LAN, and they haven't had a massive amount of time together.
Yeah, they haven't had much time together, but I think when a team is new and they have new players, when they add new players to the team, I think they have like a bigger mood and bigger motivation to improve and to prove themselves to the people. And I think they are just motivated and to be here and to prove themselves.
Well, what do you think Masonic did so right in their match against you? Because obviously they had some very incredible results. That map in particular, the 16-6, had you guys outclassed in that sense. So what are the qualities that they showed in that match they can bring forward against Astralis talent?
I think they were playing very confidently from the beginning. From in overpass, they started, I think, 10-0. And like they just pushed us, they picked us, and they just played with confidence and they weren't scared of us. And I guess we weren't ready for that. And that's what cost us the first 10 rounds.
And I think it's very similar of Masonic CT side with Prospects' CT side. Over the last couple of days of action, we've seen a lot of hyper-aggression, a lot of explosive map control taking, and one thing that definitely Masonic were doing quite a lot of is having boosts, especially on overpass. We've seen the boost up towards Party, out there on the B site, constantly trying to take map control, always trying to catch those timings. So I think one thing you'll always catch from Masonic is that it won't ever stagnant. It won't ever get to maybe 15, 20 seconds into a round and nothing's happening. No one's moving. They're always searching for further information on what they can further gain in the round. Yeah, look, I have a decent inkling as to Masonic sort of being in a very favourable position as well, because the fact that they've also got themselves a very decent set of players. Obviously, we were questioning their own roster moves coming into this event, but at the same time, we see Astralis as being potentially weakened by losing out Oltex on the same. So there's that element of they've now had a lot of playing time practice in that sort of sense. They've had the opportunity to play an event on LAN. Astralis have yet to play on LAN with this five-man unit. So do you think that's going to be a major hindrance for them, Slend? Do you think that losing someone like Oltex will keep Astralis on the back foot in this series?
I'm not sure, actually. I think it will be a tough game, but both of the teams have the chance to win the game. But I feel like Astralis will take it.
Oh, okay. Very early predictions. What might aid in those predictions, though, at this particular stage, Dweg, is the vetoes. We have them ready for us, so let's see what Tommy was able to pull out of Astralis and Masonic.
Nice one. Welcome to veto, guys. Astralis the highest seed, so you decide are you team A or B?
Who's gonna ban first? Who want them to ban first?
A ban first.
Yeah, they ban
So
first.
you are B then?
We are B then.
Yeah? So what's your first ban?
Anubis.
Anubis ban. Jeremy?
We ban Nuke.
Nuke. Your map pick?
Vertical.
Vertigo. Start inside.
CT.
CT. Your map pick?
Pick Mirage.
Mirage. Start inside.
CT.
CT. Your ban.
Ancient.
Ancient. So we have Inferno and Overpass left.
We remove Overpass.
You remove Overpass, so Inferno as third map. Thank you guys.
Yes.
You can handshake now.
Han var helt sygt. Han siger helt sygt, så ikke fisk på, vel? Sorry.
Thank you.
So Vertigo picked in by Masonic as the opening map. Dwayne, that looks very familiar in this environment, does it?
Yeah, it does, and it's not a map that they pick that often. Slen, do you reckon they've picked it because they obviously realised that it's a bit more on the weaker side to Astralis talent and the way that they performed in the series against you? Because that's a little bit of a curveball.
I guess they picked it because they learned from their mistakes from our matchup and they could improve. And also probably it's not the best map for Astralis talent. I guess that's why they picked it. And if they keep playing how they played against us, I think they can take it.
Yeah, go on, Joe.
Yeah, I look at that veto overall, though, and I'm seeing a lot of familiar territory overall between these two teams because there's quite a lot of history between them. Obviously, they've played many series in the online and offline environments overall. Dwayne, Vertigo obviously has cropped up, not in the last series, but the series before. It was actually a 16-4 win for Astralis talent. That was with the old lineups of both sides, so it's not necessarily like it's a 100% foolproof sort of comparison point, but it does show that Astralis have had success on this map against Masonic in the past.
Well, one thing to add is that Astralis talent have played 39 best-of-3s in the last 3 months. They've picked Mirage twice. I mean, work that out. 2 out of 39 times, it's a rarity. And I think that probably carries on that conversation of we're picking it because we're against Masonic, not because we enjoy picking Mirage quite frequently into the map pool.
Well, let's run into those head-to-heads a little bit more in depth here, Dwayne, because those are probably going to be a little bit of like a decent comparison point in particular with the matches that we've seen on record in the past. Because, again, the lineups are so different. We don't have Ultex, we don't have Kier, we don't have some of these elements that have been part of these lineups in the previous head-to-heads that we've seen so far. So, like, how much of a barometer is this going to be to today's matchup?
Well, one thing that I will say will be slightly clearer is online versus LAN. And maybe, Slen, you can give us some insight here, because for Astralis talent, online, they've won 3-0 against Masonic. But the one time that they had a LAN matchup, it went the other way. So how do you look at that of being the better one? Is it better to beat them 3 times online or once on LAN?
I mean, that's a good question, but I think if online anything can happen, both of the teams can beat each other. But online, you are very comfortable in your own setup and everything. But when we played against Masonic, they were really getting into our heads, I feel like, because they were screaming after every round. And that might have destroyed our confidence a little bit. So if they do the same now, they could get into Astralis' head and maybe even beat them online.
Obviously, you did have an early prediction towards Astralis' favour. Now seeing that veto, has that swayed, or do you still back them to take this best-of-3?
I still feel like Astralis will win.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your insights, then. Really do appreciate it. And Dwayne, before this match went live, we did get to chat to the players.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. We, of course, got to chat towards Mistar first and foremost. So let's see what the boys had to say. Mistar, big match, Danish derby against Masonic. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Like we have prepared a lot of hours today, so we're feeling good right now.
Coming into this tournament, a lot of people were rating you on as like the favourites overall because you guys have won 4 trophies coming into this event. You've been doing extremely well, but then you've been marred by losing Ultex as of late, who's probably your best performer. Like, does that ever like dip the confidence for you guys at the moment? Was that like a massive loss for you?
I will not say a massive loss, but like you always get a new player, so you have to get new tactics and get like Zipex into all the role and to all our strategies. So of course it's a bit different, but you can't complain about Zipex. He's an experienced man and he's very good.
How has it been like bedding him into the system? How many changes have you made to try and accommodate him?
It's actually just been 1-to-1. Like he has already the roles, so it actually fit us very good.
So I often watch a lot of Danish matches, and you guys always make it close every single time. So like, what do you think is the biggest threat on Masonic right now?
Who's the biggest threat?
Yeah.
I don't know actually. They got new players from the last lineup. We destroyed them last time, but they look very good. They win against Masonic 2-0, confident. Like we know they're good players, and we just have to play our game and don't underestimate anyone.
Awesome. And what's your own game plan? Have you got anything special planned for us today?
Yes, but I can't tell.
They never can. Awesome. And Astralis ready to take on Masonic next.
The match is just about to start. I'm joined here by the coach of Masonic Black. Now, tell me what it's like to play in a Danish derby when you're in a semi-final position. 1 best-of-3 gets you to the grand final, because you played these guys quite a bit.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Like, I wish I was on the server to show them a thing or two, right? No, we're happy about this match. We always like playing Astralis, especially now, because we feel like we are at a competitive level right now. So it will be fun.
And I think a lot of people might look at this matchup and say, geez, the head-to-heads recently haven't looked that great. But when they look at the LAN head-to-head, you actually beat them last time. So do you think that makes a difference, online to LAN versus these guys?
I think we, as Masonic, are a much better team on LAN when we have each other by the side and we're playing without ping and all that kind of stuff you can talk about. But I think it's hard to compare because the team Astralis is right now compared to the team we faced at LAN last time is two different worlds.
And I want to ask about maybe different worlds in your players. Youngsters, Sierra giving us a very good performance in Map 2 when it came to the quarterfinal matchup. Are we going to see a good performance from him today? What's him been like over the day so far? Because obviously this is a high-pressure match.
Yeah, of course, he even admitted that he feels the pressure, right? He's not trying to toy around being the bad hard guy or whatever. He's just being himself, and I think he prepared really well, spent a lot of hours this morning and yesterday to get ready for the match. He made sure he slept well, and he made sure he ate properly during the day, took his water in, you know. So I think he did everything he could to be ready. So now it's just up to the time on server.
And I think we saw in your game against Mouse that there was a bit of screaming, there was a little bit of shouting, but it wasn't to the extreme. Now we've got a Danish derby. Do you think it adds that little bit more? Do you think if you win an important round, you're going to see more out of the players just because you're playing Astralis talent?
I think it depends on how, if we beat them a lot hard, I think they will let them know that we are beating you right now. So, yeah, but, my guys, they get excited. They love the game. They this is what they live for. So when they are in the fire, they're going to shout, but we are going to keep it, at a family level, so to speak, because we don't want to, be rude to one another. We are friends on a daily basis, but now we go to war, so.
Well, best of luck, Black. This is going to be an exciting game, and I'm sure everyone at home is going to enjoy this one.
Well, Black's been very media friendly as of late, talking all about his boys and giving them the big ups, as of course you mentioned in that interview there, Dwayne. Definitely feeling like Masonic are in a confident form at the moment.
I mean, he said it right there. We might be friends, but we're going to war. The bottom line here is you've got to win. You've got to do whatever you can on the server to give your team the advantage. And for Masonic, I mean, this LAN would have almost felt like a boot camp. Consider the idea that you've got a core 3 that's been together for a very long time. You've got a new IGL, a new youngster in Sierra. It's probably a perfect time to come to LAN.
Yeah, and Sierra himself was pretty impressive in that Mouse game, right? He was probably the guy that stood out the most. We're still exploring exactly what this guy is truly made of in that sort of sense. So we have that little bit of a bonus to take a look at that series and say, listen, he played lights out in that matchup, and against Mouse and NXT, he was a key element for them, right?
Yeah, he was. We didn't get to see a massive amount from him on Overpass, but we definitely did on Vertigo. He was playing around that ramp position, constantly getting entries up towards the gap and alley sideline. So out on Vertigo, especially T-side, that's where we saw the most from him.
And of course, he wasn't the only impactful player on this Masonic side. Unless been Mr. Consistent over the course of basically the entire core's run together. I don't know if he's not going to be like a particularly standout star individual at certain periods, but certainly you can rely on him to get you out of a sticky spot.
Hey, he was their best player in the closed qualifier. He's one of the strongest riflers when it comes to the LAN environment. Frostlev, the newer IGL, I think for his sake, he was being able to read the game incredibly well on that Vertigo against Bowser NXT. You've got to remember the fight, sort of deep in the second half, they were in a lot of 5v or 5v4 deficits where they were losing picks, and he was still opening up space, allowing those mid and late lurks. But Jency, if we're going to talk about anyone in big detail, I think it's got to be him. For me, he's one of the best LAN AWPers that we have in this competition. He always hits really hard, and he's a guy that can win a game and turn a map in their favor.
Yeah, most certainly, and being the stalwart of the roster that he really is, he's the guy that you look at as the man to lean on, as the foundations of war, if you will, there for this side, and certainly his experience is going to be very valuable to the 32 LAN maps played as of today, which has got to be like probably one of the higher map records so far in terms of this tournament, right?
No, not the highest of the tournaments, but definitely one of the highest of the Sonic. No, not really. There's a couple of other players in the high 60s, but anyway, for Sierra, we've actually only seen him play LAN maps in the quarterfinals, at least on HLTV. So for him, it's the young rookie, and I don't think he'll be afraid to say that he is a rookie, because he's probably the least experienced player we have at this entire event.
Well, superstar rookie, if anything, is to show off with the back of that Masonic team matchup. So again, I'm sort of looking out on him to see whether he can continue to replicate his form from the quarterfinals, carry that over into this matchup, especially on familiar territory in that Vertigo. Like you mentioned, the opening map of the best of 3 being picked by them, 16-14 against Masonic. They were able to take that to, of course, take control overall. And of course, you know, Black Zone backing his potential. I had a chat with him earlier on today during the bartender interviews, and he was very, very proud of the things that him and Masonic have accomplished. And certainly when you consider the organization's history, you can be proud of what he's been able to achieve.
Getting hyped and getting excited. I mean, he actually was teammates with quite a few of the guys out at Astralis Talent, so that's probably going to mean a slight amount more for him in this kind of a derby. I mean, bro, this was a guy that we saw in the international scene playing with more of the mixers on European soil, and it's good to see that he's back in a Danish home, because as soon as we saw him standing in for Astralis Talent, I was hoping that he was going to get the pickup. This guy is an incredible individual,
and certainly he's proven himself to be just that over the course of the online events that they played so far here on Astralis Talent. MistGames, of course, long time member of this particular of this roster, and obviously having his call ups to the international scene as terms part of the tier 1 environment. Obviously, that's experience is going to be very beneficial, I think, to the Astralis Talent side in this particular environment.
Yeah, it will be. Again, he's been here for a long time. He's familiar with the style of play they bring. Patty, the IGL for this roster, also a guy that's maybe slightly older, but not as experienced as some of the others. We saw him most recently playing with Arbe and Los Reyes and Sashi, where we saw obviously Buzz coming from, and has now been promoted up to the main team itself. So Patty brings quite a lot of experience when it comes to IGLing Danish squads.
Yeah, most certainly. And there's 2 other key elements, of course, to this particular roster. Christo, obviously, he's been part of the Danish scene as well, been around the block in that sense. He was part of that AGF roster that turned heads.
Well, do you see my comment right there, Joe?
Yep. I'll leave that to your own devices. But the key thing that I wanted to focus on, particularly when it comes to this roster, has got to be Zipex, right? Because the thing about Astralis coming into this event is that this was not the Astralis that won 4 back-to-back events. Oltex was part of this roster. He no longer is. Zipex is in. And during that interview as well I had with MistGames, he was saying, listen, it's been 1-to-1. Zipex has been quite a charm to work with. He's been filling all the roles perfectly. Yeah. It might be 1-to-1 in terms of roles for the team itself, but is it 1-to-1 in terms of performances?
No, possibly not. I mean, it's 1-for-1 for roles, but he has changed all of his positions. You notice a lot of changes on the T side, as an example, and especially on the CT side, moving around on different bomb sites. So even though the roles are kind of similar, he has been placed in different roles. He's played a few games so far with this lineup in general, but I mean, his LAN experience, it defeats pretty much any team in this entire competition. The issue, or maybe more so the concern, is can you use that experience to surpass an entire team just by yourself?
Well, I was, of course, having a chat with him as well during the interviews earlier on today, and he was talking about the differences between on-LAN environments, particularly those big arena stages versus the more, closed-off environments like we have here at Lofoten. And certainly just understanding his history, obviously, 4-time major champion, part of the greatest era in Counter-Strike history, like part of one of the greatest teams in Counter-Strike history. His experience in that sense means that it's probably going to be a lot more of a comfortable environment for him, which is a complete contrast to everybody else who's been saying, well, they've been doing well on LAN. Can they do well doing well online, I should say. Can they do it over on LAN? And certainly Zipex is not going to have the same sort of questions about him. We know that he can be a great LAN performer by comparison to the players that we have here in Lofoten.
Yeah, that's very true. At the same time, you probably don't want someone like Zip taking over the server because you've got players that can facilitate that. Again, Bro is their best LAN performer in the last 12 months. MistGames an incredibly strong rifle to the team. So I think for the likes of Zip, just getting him involved in some of those supportive roles, making sure that he keeps the comms really clear, calms the team down in some nervous situations, that's what you want from an experienced guy like him.
Well, let's dive a little bit further into map 1 of Vertigo, obviously the map pick of this Masonic side. And other than that Mouse NXT victory, however, they've been having the best of times in the online environment. They were on a 4-map win streak prior to Lofoten, so their position might not be quite as confident. And in general, like outside of their 3 victories as of late, there's quite a lot of red on that board, Dweg. The layman might say that this is not very good form for them.
No, it definitely isn't. And I think Masonic will say that themselves. Their form recently, not even with this current 5, but in previous iterations, the last 3 months have been very tough. And I think it shows that the roster changes of players coming in and out have really tarnished the rep as such of Masonic being a higher end tier 2 squad. So for their sake, think they've got to be looking at the here and now, and I think especially in the quarterfinals, they proved that maybe those recent results online don't quite attribute to what they can perform out on LAN.
Well, certainly Masonic is a nice little breath of fresh air by comparison to the losses that we've had against Prodigies, XI, Make Your Destiny, all those unranked and very low-ranked teams overall. So, yeah, it definitely is encouraging for Masonic to try and turn that corner if it starts here in Lofoten. Of course, Astralis themselves have also not... I mean, the form is definitely going to be encouraging because of the fact that they've been in a number of tournaments lately where they've actually been victors overall. Again, they've got those 4 back-to-back trophies in the online environment, but just in general, recently they had a victory against Illuminar earlier on this week. They're beating out Inter Academy, who we just saw, of course, is the other semi-final team that got knocked out. They did that twice. It's a lot more green in that board, even if that level of competition isn't quite as high.
Yeah, I mean, it's not saying that it isn't. I mean, if you look just even a little bit further back to CCT North Europe Series 4, they beat Sangul, Voivoda, Nexus, Copenhagen Flames, Sinners 500, and Gamer Legion back-to-back. So we know that they can have runs where they can prove themselves against the more established and well-known squads in Tier 2. And the fact that Astralis talent are coming into this event with so many grand final placements, you've got to be looking at them today thinking, it's only one series to get to a grand final again. And
speaking of just the CCT EU event that you mentioned, North EU rather, number 4, that was the first of the 4 events they were starting to take control of, the last of which was Power League for Season 22. That's, of course, a league that both these two teams play in. So to have that one up again, Astralis, so many encouraging factors towards their name in that sort of sense. Their current season of Power League has not quite been as confident as of right now. So again, are we taking a look at those results, taking a look at those 4 wins, saying that was the past Astralis, and now things are about to get a little bit more shaky for them?
It's difficult to know because, again, you are subbing out your strongest player on your roster for an experienced player, and whether it is a 1-for-1 or no matter what the replacement may be, anytime you're adjusting what 5 players you're bringing on the server, you know that it's going to have knock-on effects. You know that it's not going to be always as easy to bounce back immediately. For Astralis talent, though, they were one of our favourite teams coming into this event, and they're going to be looking at this matchup up against Masonic, saying we've absolutely battered them the last 2 times we've played them online. Let's try and achieve that same sort of goal and get ourselves into a grand final again.
Most certainly, again, a battering that you mentioned on the online environment, but online versus LAN, as we've seen over the course of this week, is very, very different beast, especially this kind of level. Even though it might not be a big arena that we're playing in, we are still playing in a different environment to what these guys are used to. And the environment that Masonic have thrived the most in against Astralis has been the LAN event environment. So given what we saw from them against Mouse and XT, do we see them having the upper edge again, given the fact that we are in person today?
I think, again, it's a similar conversation to what we had when they played Mouse and XT, in that Masonic aren't going to be the favourites, but yet they do have positives behind them. So I think I'm looking at this series again today. I'm leaning the way of Astralis talent being the favourite, but I think with Masonic, they proved a lot in that best-of-3 series against Mouse. They've shown that they can adapt to LAN with slightly different iterations of the lineup, and we know that they've got a very consistent 3 core of Gensi and Lay and Torsen.
Yeah, again, I sort of look at there and I think that they've gotten the proof in the pudding when it comes to this event thus far. Astralis have yet to play, so we haven't seen what they're currently looking like when it comes to the Lofoten event. So I think it's going to be a moment of discovery for Astralis, and obviously like a moment where they can try and turn the corner on the couple of struggles that they've had since their 4 tournament wins, and turn a corner on the online struggles that they've had to face, and do decent on LAN, return the favour to Masonic, try and get that grand final position. But there is a part of me looking at this saying that it's going to be an incredibly tough match to predict upon, but I look at that LAN result, I look at what Masonic did in the last few days, and I think to myself, I kind of want to favour them in this series.
Well, I'm going to counter that and say, don't you remember when the core 3 of Astralis talent got to play in front of thousands of Finns in Alyssa Masters Espo? That was the core of Astralis, because 2 Astralis talent players were subbing in, so you had that core of Zipnix, Mistar, and Christo. That's the same core that we have today. Yes, it might be a different lineup, but those players have played on LAN and at high stages where they've been able to achieve deeper and decent runs.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to take that away from you. Like, this is definitely a hard match to call. I think that there's not a lot in it, to be honest. Even though there's the blowout positions coming in from the Power League and the CCT qualifiers, even though we have those 16-4s and 16-3s and those incredibly one-sided matches from Astralis talent recently, the changes that they've made, the struggles that they've had, Masonic's improvements now betting in their newer elements. To me, it just feels like this one is going to be not as cut and dry as previous ones. I'm going to go Masonic just for the sake of history. If you want to back Astralis, though, so I do not blame you at all.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence again. It's one of those matches where, because it is a Danish derby, because there are some level of question marks when it comes to both of these rosters, it is very difficult to know. I look at the veto process and think both teams have gone slightly different directions than what they normally do as well. So this is definitely one of the least clear-cut series I think we've had in the entire tournament so far.
We have had some series where we've been like, there's been one clear winner, there's been one clear favourite, and they've still turned around, Blake. So anything can happen this week. It is a Danish derby. Anything can happen in the next 3 hours. This series really could go down to the wire, and absolutely brilliantly, as we've seen over the course of the last couple of days. Masonic and Astralis Talent, our semi-final proceeding. Do I have any final thoughts and feelings and things you can look out for and expect in this matchup?
Oh, the first thing to keep in the top of your mind is that Astralis Talent played Masonic twice in MistGames Heroes of Tomorrow Spring, beating them 2-1 in the upper bracket semi and 2-1 in the grand final. So even though it's only core one of both of those teams, it's actually only Gensi and Mistar that have stayed from those original matches, we've seen Astralis Talent have the upper edge in them when it comes to the MistGames circuit.
Well, the voting is certainly close, but the Astralis fans have them pipped to win this series. They start things off on the CT side of Vertigo. Masonic's own map pick as we get the second semi-final started here in the MistGames Heroes of Lofoten. Pistol round going live with the P250s taking on the Glocks. The P2K of Christo is going to be the first thing forward into that ramp contact. Takes the first little bit of engagement, faces the bullets, and falls right back.
Hey, you've got so many players here from Astralis trying to rotate down from the bottom of ramp, and they're being caught completely. So many kills going the way of that T side. Nicely handled there from Masonic. Just when it looked like Astralis Talent were going to be able to apply that pressure out from the forklift, it is a mow-down coming through from the youngster of Sierra.
That's what you call ripping them apart. And now Torson looks to challenge Christo next, get the headshot in and kick things off. Yeah, that trash talk is on.
Yeah.
This is why derbies are so good to watch, particularly Danish ones. Such a rich scene, so many fantastic talents from top to bottom. And, well, you know that rivalries are going to be heavy for them. They talked about them being family, but as Black mentioned in that pre-match interview, they're going to war today.
One round in, and we've already got Torson giving it. That's what we want to see. That's exactly the kind of emotion you want to see in this kind of game. Masonic going into the second round, it is a harsh eco for the likes of Astralis. So you look at guys like Gensi trying to farm up that cash. One thing I would like to pose to the audience, we've seen very expensive anti-ecos. So just because this is a USP round, don't be afraid if there are a few kills.
Got the Lil standing by on the T-side line. Frostlove's going to play Zipex and Mistar, and Bro will fall all the same. One pick back from Christo, but that's about as far as it looks to go here on the CT side. 2-0 start. Masonic going to carry on with their momentum. And straight up against the guns of the CTs.
Hey, here's something. We have yet to see Zipex play Astralis Talent on the map of Vertigo. What do we think about that, Jay? He's played every map in the pool outside of their Instaban of Nuke, and Vertigo is the second map in the entire map pool that we haven't seen him. We've only seen him play it on Astralis.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a different environment, and certainly, like, one of the curious things, as we mentioned before, obviously, with what Mistar said in the pre-match interview, was that he's been fitting one-to-one in terms of the roles that Ultex used to play. Is that going to be any sort of major difference in terms of what he played on the main team? I guess we'll find out as this one rolls on, as Bro starts things off. Throws their first man to go down. Torson with a responsive and a 4-on-4 immediately. Patty now making his own progress, spotting out the man, the shoulder peeking out, the spray can come through.
And now just smoke off the bottom of the ramp sandbag. Patty's going to get some assistance from the M4s towards his right-hand side. Smoke off that molly, but Patty wants to look to continue fighting while there's a walk-up from mid of Anlay.
Gets the kill on Zipex next to a 3-on-3. He'll go. AWP of Christo must be aware of him being a scaff. Saw that crack angle. Is Anna going to give him back a second chance? No, he's looking back towards CT. He might get caught off by the close quarters. Meanwhile, Sierra's making his way in from alley, and they're walking out. They've left the A bomb site entirely. He's got that information. The bomb's going down towards B. There is 1-for-1 trades, and now they're going to make their way into the MAC-10. They need Sierra to strike.
Oh, Gensi's trying to slow this down. I love the way that he's playing it aggressively, just trying to slow the clock.
Patty moving in. Hearing the footsteps. Playing the information game. They've got their eyes set away from the man. Oh, this is perfect. Smoke will start to fade. Or look around the outside. Patty Shadow barely spotted. Sierra is going to get caught anyway. MAC-10 spray. Gets the first. Sees Mistar onto the bomb site. He taps it once. He's got no kit. He's got to go for the fight. Gensi playing with him. Toying with his food. The M4 spray. Can't get a kill back. And the MAC-10's going to bait it even closer for the spray and the kill. The 3-0 start for Masonic.
And what was the one thing that we said against Bowser NXT was so good for Masonic? Clutches. 1v X's. Gensi plays that so smart. Slow it down. Get aggressive aggressive out towards Guardian, play around the generators, and that entire round from Masonic was so mid-roundy. You can see the way that Anley's trying to press himself forward up to that mid-control. You've got a walkout out to that B site from the likes of Gensi. Sirius trying to come through on the backstab. It's unfortunate that he's not even able to find one kill from Guardian, but you can see the setup, you can see the idea of what Masonic are bringing to the table, and that's a great round coming through from them.
The fact that Masonic are in it this early, looking lights out, feeling lights out, sounding lights out at the moment. Perfect timings to be able to react to what the individuals of Astralis Talent are doing at this moment in time. A small tech pause before we go any further here on the Astralis side, a moment to figure things out, fix up whatever issues may be on the way, although it looks like we're about ready to jump back into this one, Dwight. Masonic though, look, solid stuff, incredibly good start.
And they'll be happy with the beginning. And of course, one thing that Slend was alluding to when they got to play them out on Overpass, which was the map pick of Masonic, was that 10-0, that beginning of just round after round, the round streak, making it so uncomfortable to put yourself in a comebacking position. Masonic are up against very little when it comes to round number 4.
Smokes and sprays in. Froslev going to find Christo. Of course, opening start on the pistol anti-half by round. Only really Deagles and some players with Kevlar. Very little investment overall here for Astralis. We'll try and bring a little bit of firepower in, take some rifles out of the hands of the T's if possible. But realistically, this should not be a CT round itself. Masonic will push into that B site, and Zipex will try hold his nerve. Also got Mistar right behind him. They do find Torsen for it, but trades are so quick from the Masonic side. Mistar's dead. Zipex will be quick to follow.
Bro and Patty just hoping for an exit kill, position yourself out towards CT. Sierra's been able to press himself up quite aggressively, but there's still so much util down, so all the coverage is being used.
Try look for exits, the best they can do at this stage, and Patty's not going to get much further with it. Gensi does offer up his life for one frag. That's decent. Sierra just covering off a crack angle. Bro's going to force him out of the way, and in the end, force him to peek into the man. The AK is, of course, going to win that fight. And the 4th round for Masonic. Astralis Talent. Not much damage being done in that one. They can bring home the guns now. The buy-up will be received.
Yeah, the last time that we saw Vertigo between the likes of Astralis Talent and Masonic was back there towards the end of February, which was a 16-4. Before that, we actually saw a reverse of a 16-11 victory for the side of Masonic on LAN, and the time before that was actually an overtime. So we have seen some close results between the two on this map. Zip trying to get that opening pick out towards the B stairs, and in fact, he does win it out onto Torsen.
Again, it comes back to that whole thing of which one do you value more, the online stomp or the on-land victory for Masonic. Sierra able to respond to that opening frag, get Christo to fall. Keeping it even for the time being, and they do back away from that ramp control on the T side.
He's done it again. This is the second time now in the first 5 rounds of the game that he has been able to get himself up towards the side alley. Oh, Bro's got no idea, gets caught off guard. Patty out there towards the sandbags is going to fall as well. That is marvelous.
Beauty of a play. Oh, wow, Sierra just keeps going, doesn't he? Stood out in that previous quarterfinal series that Masonic had played against Mouse, and here he stands out in these last couple of rounds for the against the Astralis side.
I'll say stood out on Vertigo. That's where we've got to be a little bit more clear. We actually didn't get to see much from him on Overpass, but without a doubt, if he didn't perform to the level that he did on Vertigo, they wouldn't have won that map. It would have been going to a 3rd.
It's a common map right here and now between these two series, and it's a common man again standing up for the Masonic side.
And maybe this is even something the prospects are looking at, because they've got to be prepared for both of these teams going into the grand final tomorrow. And they've got to be thinking that if Masonic are one of those teams that's got to be getting into the final, we might see Vertigo. And if we do, we've got to try and deal with Sierra, because that is a trouble on the T side.
Yeah, if they're watching this, they're going to be analysing all of his positions. For now, it's just the game in front of us, the 5th round on the board of Masonic. Jensen just making sure no one's trying anything sneaky. Ultimately, Zip and Mistar will keep a hold of their guns. It's a 5-0 start for Masonic, looking so proficient. Again, all down to Sierra's efforts. He's currently top of the board.
So much impact, and I think he knows with that sort of setup. I mean, bro was throwing util. If you've been able to come up side alley and he's throwing util, well, he has to be crane or sandbags. There's no other position he's going to be. Read that like a book. Masonic looking comfortable on the T side. Astralis talent yet to respond.
Try do so here. The M4s are back. AWP on Jensi's part posted in from the T side line, hoping for extensions on the CT basis. They might just give it to him. They'll put some utility down to their own right, though. Sira, again, is going to try his hand at the tops. Trying to get punished by Patty. The AK locked on. The M4 can adjust towards it, and he won't be allowed to walk any further this time.
Yeah, Sira maybe just trying to work with that confidence. That time, didn't have a teammate to support. The smoke was down towards the bottom of ramp, so not even Jensi could peek on the contact. Torsen working his way out towards the B stairs. Now, we've seen previously, even in this map, Masonic have been down by 1 and still been able to find the response.
Torsen didn't see the shadows. Zipex saw him instead. The opening frag to follow up there from Astralis. Orb boosted, looking into Scaff. It's Christo. Watches at CT, expected someone around this corner, and that's not the case.
And Masonic are going to put themselves in a position where you get super individual because you're in a very uncomfortable stance to try and recover a 3v5. You work in the mid-walk. Frostliv's trying to come up from top ramp, and it's being retaken at Crane.
Christo almost didn't adjust towards the man, but in the end, shot to the back of the head. Getting 2 left here on the Masonic side. Looks like this will be the round that Astralis can respond to. 30 seconds though. Let's see what Unlay and Jensi can try it here. If they want to try anything at all, given the fact they're backing up towards ladder, it does indicate to me that it might be a save.
Yeah, they don't have many options at all. And for Astralis talent, that was a very nice round, very tidy with that opening pick from Zip, and then everything just being responded to. Patty being able to deal with that over-aggression out there from the top of ramp control. Masonic now find themselves in a position where they give up the first round. Let's see what the response is going to be like.
The 5 in a row have given a money basis to build from here for Masonic.
Let's go!
So there is cash to play with. There should be a buy as a result here for the T side. Much more of a confident round from Astralis, finding each of these individual fights and winning them against Masonic. Offered up in certain cases, certainly. Finally, their first goes on the board.
For Astralis talent, just try and see if they can keep it tight towards the end of the first half. And we know that the round win percentage between CT and T side is actually exactly the same for them on Vertigo in the last 3 months of 53.2. So you're looking at a ballpark of between 7 to 8. And right now the deficit's being 4. And for Masonic, we saw them getting quite loud. We saw them giving that energy. I'm sure that will only continue on their map pick.
Astralis have not yet to make much noise at all, and not really much reason to at this stage. Only 1 round in it. Small tech pause for Torsen, as you can see. Letting him get resolved, whatever it is, resolved.
One thing I do want to touch on is Ents Academy were trying to go with the land buff of the Buzz Guts. Masonic have got brand new jerseys for this event. I don't know if there's a buff there at all.
Actually, I'm told they have new jerseys because they had a new sponsor.
That's true.
Yeah, Black was himself also giving me a bit of information on Iwi, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, so I'm just gonna let the Danish fans enjoy that one. So he's got the playbook out as well here at the moment, Dwayne, and I guess now's the right time. I mean, he obviously can't communicate to his players, but now's the right time to sort of like consider what the strategy is, and when you need to call in that tactical pause, just be ready with a game plan, be ready with a change of tactics, be ready with something of some sort of capacity to be able to enable Masonic to change direction. Because if there is a moment for Astralis to get back into this game, it would be in this round.
I mean, one thing that we always touch on with coaches is that quite a lot of them at this sort of level always are ex-pros and have had playing experience. It's quite rare that both coaches on both organizations used to play for the team. Ronick, once upon a time, was actually part of the very first few players on the first iteration of Astralis talent, and we know that Black played on Masonic too, so that's kind of cool that we've had both coaches go from playing roles into coaching roles.
Yeah, so a bit of an update for you all at home. There is currently a keyboard language issue with the players over on the Masonic side.
Okay.
Do you know much about this, Twig? I was actually, Auntie, who you can see on screen, one of our admins, he was actually explaining it to me last night about what it's about. Basically, Windows, for some reason, decides it wants to default to a certain language of keyboard. So that makes certain like keystroke inputs not register in the way that you want it that you want it to. So certain things like an American keyboard versus an English keyboard, for example, the @ and the hash, they're swapped over. There's other things in certain other languages depending on the keyboard that you have. So you have to go ahead and disable it in Windows. So that's what's going on right now. And obviously, as you can imagine, that could cause issues with inputs. So definitely want to resolve that before we go any further.
Yeah, my Australian keyboard is a different layout to UK keyboards completely. So even if I'm using a UK keyboard, I still have the Australian keyboard as the settings.
Yeah. Oh, this tech has turned into a tactical pause, so you can see exactly why Masonic had their playbook out. Black's getting right in there, giving them some insights, telling them how they can counteract it. And I love this. Again, Astralis win one round. Masonic want to get right back on their backs and ensure it doesn't happen again.
Something very similar that another team does is Gamer Legion. If you know Ash, the coach, one of the teams in the Tier 2 atmosphere that anytime you lose a round or you give up one that maybe you shouldn't have, possibly like a first where a lot of players from Astralis talent are staying alive, take that tactical in, be able to find that response, realize that something went wrong in that last round and make sure that you're not giving them room to come back into the game.
Round 7 going live. The AWP still in for Gensi, of course. The AK's around him, the full set of M4s for Astralis. Damage being done to Torsen very early by the utility base. There's a lot of flashes and smokes being sent over here towards ramp as the T's try and make their way forward. We've got Bro and Patty there to try and cover off the crossfire, and then we'll put some blind spray back down against the T-side line, but just chipping away the HP bars more with the HE nades rather than anything else.
Anti-rush nades working out quite nicely there to the right-hand side. Even that incendiary should force Frostlev out to the open unless he smokes it. And Christo's waiting for that mid-walk, trying to see if they can catch Unlay on the timing. Now, one thing you should always be aware of Masonic is that when you get later on into the round, that 40-second, 50-second, watch out for Anlay into mid. Watch out for Frostlev walking forward because they love creating space in the mid.
Torsen's trying to create some space out here towards the stairs angle for the time being. We've got one player really focused on in mid here for Masonic. Bro tries to challenge the 3 players that are down here at the bottom end of ramp, the jump face. Gensi with the kill. Bro, first of all.
And here comes Anlay, starting to work that mid-control. Patty being burnt out, Torsen getting a kill. Response is pretty good here for Patty, but didn't see Frostlev coming up there from Crane.
At least him and Mistar got a couple of kills, so it's still going to be a bit of a manageable situation for Astralis. Still 3-on-2 for the Masonic side as Christo gets flanked. Anlay with a kill, can't quite double it up. It's a 1-on-1. Syrah and Mistar. 27 seconds, the bomb will get planted, and Syrah looks to reposition.
Yeah, Mistar's got a smoke. He could put it down to that Crane position, put it onto the bomb itself. Now we get to see what the youngster is going to be like in the clutch.
Slowly but surely creeping in. Mistar checking his position. Syrah receiving a smoke, going to wait for that bomb to get tapped. Creep around the outside, spot his foot, peeking below the smoke, and he looks so happy about that, and for right good reason.
There we go. Syrah coming through when it matters most. Masonic in the clutches, man. They keep doing it. That's going to be a huge threat over the course of this entire playoff bracket run, Jay. Is Masonic in 1vx's. Smoke goes down, doesn't even wait for Mistar to tap the bomb. Loves it.
Yeah. It's the war cry, Masonic, I think.
I know how to disable it and register it.
Got every reason to give him the hype for it as well.
Just being 6-1 up against Astralis talent in a national derby when last time around Vertigo was a stomp towards the Danes of Astralis talent. That's going to be a great feeling for Masonic across the board, just knowing, well, we're not filtering down that route of what the 2 last head-to-heads have been.
I think already they've surpassed all the major scorelines that they have against the Astralis talent side, if memory serves me correctly.
6-16 was one of the, the last.
So at the very least, they're going to match the best series, the best map scoreline they've had in the last 2 best-of-3s. So that's already a positive.
Which is actually just this year alone. Like, if you go even further back, we have to touch into last year.
Exactly. So, like, in terms of recent history, they're already starting to match up to their best performances. And given the way they're playing right now, in my eyes, I think they can go a bit further here, Dwayne. Right now, the money situation for Astralis does not look amazing. They're still sitting with a decent amount of loss bonus, but that was a heavy investment round that they just took.
Just to get some context on that, do you mean go further in the map score line of Vertigo? Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, I mean, it's understandably so. We're not expecting Astralis talent to win 8 rounds in a row to end up getting 9 at the turn. And Masonic have given us some pace changes I mean, there again, right? I was just talking about that mid-round and what Anlay is able to do. You just saw him get pretty much to elevators undetected. And one thing that you could also see right at the end is he starts running in the elevators because the B player is rotating. If he walks the entire way, that B player that's coming up from Guardian's going to catch him.
Once again, dealing with Windows issues at the moment here for Frostlev.
Just open it up.
Yeah. Sometimes it just doesn't want to open.
No, that's not what I meant.
I blame Tommy. I blame Tommy.
I was meaning a physical window, Jay, but that's all right. It went over your head.
I haven't opened a window in a very long time.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I've been out on all the activities and you haven't. Everyone had him.
I've been at the bar doing interviews.
Yeah. What about the fishing boat, the speedboat, the saunas? Where have you been?
I could go on those and then I'd get seasick. And then I could just...
You've been missing out. You would have seen Rolf pick up the big gift.
Sure, I could have done that. Or I could sit in here and be, you know, capable of doing my job. That would be nice. Unless you want me to come and projectile vomit when we open the show.
I don't know, man. I'm just
I could do that if you want. If you haven't checked out any of the content that we've seen so far, then do be sure to follow MistGames on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, at MistGamesGG. We've got
honestly
all of the interviews, all of the bits and pieces that we've been putting out on the social media channels have been very insightful. Your little team introductions that have been going out on the Twitter, I've been really loving those.
Cheers, Jay. Much appreciated. I mean, one thing that I'd even say is outside of the content, mate, just look at the scenery. Just look at some of the posts on Instagram. I think the scenery just speaks volumes of this entire event. One thing, actually, I'll just give a little bit of a sneak peek. Out of some of the people, I did an interview last night with Server from Ents Academy just after they lost their game. And one of the things that he said, because I asked him about the whole LAN environment and the stage, and he said that he felt a lot of pressure, not on the stage, but the cameras being there. So that's another thing, right, is that when you go to a lot of the local LANs, you might have one set camera at the end of the aisle, and that's it. We've constantly got cameras going in, out, locations, activities here on the stage, and that's got to be very different for a lot of these youngsters.
Yeah, it's very curious.
There you go.
It's very curious, actually, sort of like to discuss that whole prospect, because it's funny to me how closed off these guys have been getting whenever they, because we've been talking to all the guys off camera and privately, and they've been very boisterous around their own position. But for some reason, when that thing is pointing at you, you just close yourself off and you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do. So in that sense, like I wonder how different things could have been if that wasn't like a factor to consider. That's such a weird sort of like human mindset sort of thing, because it's so frequent to see among people. Like the moment you put a camera in their face, it's like personality just changes.
It does indeed. And I think comfortability for a lot of these guys to get them out onto LAN, to give them some more of that experience. Because again, we are literally looking for the players of the next generation. And Frostlev and his lads are back and ready to get here on Vertigo to try and press their lead even further. For Astralis Talent's point of view, they'll look at this as being a very slow start on Vertigo. They won't be happy with how the first 7 rounds have been.
So much so that, once again, this technical leads into a tactical, and they're going to get a chance to talk in amongst themselves in this moment's respite, to figure things out, to discuss things, and to reassess how they're challenging Masonic, because it is 6-1. To remind all the people at home, this has still been quite the matchup for the boys over on the T side, for Black and his squad.
I mean, it must be even a bit strange, too, for Astralis Talent. They've been here nearly a week and they haven't played a game yet. Some of the other guys, they've been playing over the last couple of days. They're obviously the last invited team into the semis to play. So that in itself might be a bit of an odd feeling, looking on every single day at other games, but realizing we're still waiting for our game.
We're not waiting for the AWP anymore for Astralis. It's been brought in for the first time on the CT side. They've been rocking the M4s up until now. A chance to re-attack on the Masonic camp of things. The AWP on Gensi can try and respond, and he's been pretty proficient with that so far in the early game. Trying to play contact information out towards ramp, because Zipex also running into that B site, just spraying back from the site itself, hoping to catch players over at the Danger Wallbang. Outside of that, very little contact established in the early round.
This is very different to what we've seen from Masonic on T side. There's a very heavy presence outside of B. You've got Zira playing super defensively towards the bottom of the forklift. Now, Gensi got set up there for an opening pick towards default. It looks like they're going to boost on the right-hand side to try and get Torsen with that AK, I should say, but actually the AWP tries to go up. So this is twice now for Masonic. They've tried something to create an opening pick out there on B.
Been unsuccessful in this particular case, though. The HE put down by the CT forces have tagged Jency and Torsen to rather low, more points of HP. Half on one, AWP now going to get counter boosted to try to catch Christo. Christo spotted him, but didn't quite hit the kill shot.
There's actually not a mid lurk in this round. Instead, everyone is regrouping out here from bottom ramp.
Now making their way in quick and making no comments about this. The flashbang keeps them blinded, but Patty didn't know who to focus on. So Syrah can get the kill despite of being blinded. 30 seconds. Masonic need to make their moves in now.
Get those cross smokes down, right and left. Christo might be able to spam one kill.
Orpa's looking up. He's got backup also to his right-hand side. Bro and Mr. ready to be part of the defensive line. Flash is sent. Incendiary is going just as quickly, but Torsen's going to put down out towards the right corner. Christo and Bro get the kills against Frozen, but Torsen dropped that bomb. Syrah is going to pick it up, get it planted this time down at default, but he's losing his teammates. Jency now falling. Spray back on the first. 4 seconds, no time to get it down on this one. He's got to fight hard and fight in vain as Astralis get their second on the board.
And Masonic had a lot going for them there. They have an opening pick from Anlay's point of view. They start charging up the ramp control. They smoke off left, smoke off right. They try and get the bomb plant in, and unfortunately, Bro just denies. And any time you're going for a late round play up towards A, you do not want to be losing that bomb plant. Mr. just keeping that pressure on, making sure they keep fighting on the contact. And Masonic pretty much knew that once that bomb plant got denied the first time, that was the round over.
It's way too far to take to try and get a second chance at it, and just the extra pressure to ensure that even if they did, it wasn't going to be successful. And just like that, Masonic, despite having a successful 6 out of 7 rounds, have had their economy almost completely crippled because of that. They've only got 1 AK in on this buy-up.
This is a massive swing round because both teams' economy is pretty much not even here in the reserve. And Christo was holding this sight line in the last round. But without Jency with the AWP, the T's will have to play it differently.
Smokes in, Molly sent, Bro's going to stand by and hold the first port-off call here at Danger. I think he might have been heard there with some of those tags. Christo, man down on Jency. Syrah can get one tray, but knife pulled out. Patty struggles with that pickback. Torsen can get a responsive. There's an AK and an M4 to play with, so they're going to get picked up by Torsen and Unlay.
And now start putting some pace down out here towards gap position. They know that Mistar's here. There's a backstab coming through from Bro at bottom ramp, though.
Heard tagged and jumping. You're right about Bro. Slowly creeping in is the winning element, the wild card in this particular case for Astralis. As he cut rotations, as he move back in, they might just hold out. Yeah, crossfire is very awkward. They'll let Masonic get the bomb site, but the retake should be pretty much on here.
I mean, really, Zip and Mistar have to take first point of contact before Bro can come through from this ramp control. He wants to try and come through late and almost hope that it gets overlooked.
Tap on the bomb once, forces them to make action. Nades onto Torsen will keep him low HP, but the AWP of Unlay brings in the man advantage for Masonic, and he turns on Bro the same. Thought he was blind, you thought wrong. Zipex thinks wise, gets out of there, saves the AK.
And what a response that is. Go back and forth for a couple of rounds. We mentioned the swing, the idea that both teams' economy is very low. Zip looking for an exit frag, just gets peeked in by Frostlev. That's an excellent round there from Masonic. Anlay with a very important couple of kills with the AWP. Now, he's not a guy that picks up the AWP all that often, but I guess when your teammate goes down there of Jency and it's sitting there waiting to be used, well, why don't you pick it up? Ooh, he's not much of a hype guy. Maybe Torsen is.
You can see who is and who isn't. That's in these clips so far.
Different personalities. I'd be giving it some.
History repeating itself at the moment. Oh, to be fair, you're an Aussie and I'm a Brit, so we'd be absolutely... But history repeating itself twice in the same match. Astralis getting one and then Masonic responding with just as much confidence in the follow-up. Down to pistols again for the CT side. The Academy squad is having a bit of a bad time about this, and 5 rounds to make up. It's not impossible to make the difference, but with the way that this T side are playing, it does feel like it is.
Sarah playing out here towards that gap side of alley, peeks into a couple, just adding more to the tally. And you'd have to say that this is an even better performance than what we saw from him against Masonic in the quarters.
Up to 16 at this particular stage, he certainly is doing particularly well. Over number 17 against Zipex around the corner. There it is. Nice for Syrah. And look, you can't complain with top of the board. He's been there for a while and he's extended himself to his numbers being far and beyond even the second man down from his particular side. Again, 17 kills for Sira, 8 for the next man down at Banley.
And just to compare the two of recent run of form, I think the HLTV World Ranking gives you a very good idea of the difference between these two teams. There's nearly 90 teams between these two. Astralis currently sit at 44th in the world. Masonic are down at 133rd.
Trying to make up some points in that respect now for Masonic. Doing as well as they have in these last couple of matches and still holding the lead. Zipex, however, holds that advantage. Getting the opening start on Torsen early.
Sira trying to find that response out towards ramp. He's been clinical in this position. Oh, Patty could get caught out in the open. He hasn't seen Sira walk up. Throw towards 51. Gets adjusted to him. Patty falls as well. Sira's now got the A site completely opened up.
This guy's on fire and he's going in for more. Froslev might get caught off by Zipex meanwhile, but both players have seen each other. Sira finally does get taken down, put away by Christo. Leaving it at a 3-on-3, so order has been restored for now. Masonic are pushing on to stow some discord in at the B bomb site. Froslev just as good. Zipex down to full. Christo, next man up to task, leaning in. Has got Froslev rather low HP, but those sprays go all over the place. Not towards the kill shot. MistGames can double up, but Jensi's AWP is not missing himself. Might not be as high as Sira, but possibly just as impactful.
Mate, Sira is ripping right now on this ramp control. It's so similar to Nexius on that T side from Mal's NXT. Coming up the top of Tarps, coming up from top ramp. That is such a difficult kill to be able to adjust up towards 51. And then even that crosshair placement on the run out from Patty towards the sandbags. Instant trading game here from the generator's position. Jensi doing well with that AWP. Yes, it's a 3v1 towards the tail end there, but it's an all-important kill from Jensi to close down the round. Masonic now 1 away from double digits in the first half.
It's incredible to me that they took a tactical after that round for Masonic.
I guess maybe they know in the 3v1 they might have wanted to play it differently.
Quite possibly.
I mean, even when you're finding success, there can still be negatives. And that might be something that Black's looking at the entire squad thinking.
Well, at 9-2, not many negatives for Masonic at the moment. They are doing a wonderful job against the Astralis talent. And again, they're going to leave them with very little to play with over on the CT side. The SMG's on 2, a Deagle 5-7, a CZ. Firepower most certainly sits with the T side, but Christo does find the opening start. Sira, first to fall.
One positive I will give to Astralis talent is they've been able to win a lot of opening man advantages. Out there towards the B site from Zip, out towards the ramp control as well. And that seems to be an issue that Masonic are continuing to encroach on when it comes to Vertigo T sides. Something that was hindering them quite a massive amount against Mal's NXT and even against Astralis. Even if the scoreline doesn't show it, it has been a consistent issue.
And smart call from Jensi a moment ago to get rid of that AK that Sira had lost, and so disallowing it to fall into the hands of the pistol players. Once again, Astralis are going to try and aggress here. They've got Christo downstairs. Jensi's read it. Brings in the 4-on-4. MistGames should get pressured next. His SMG forced away from danger. Would have been heard rotating back and damaged up by the Molotov. Second one inbound on the backside. Meanwhile, Patty finds another kill. Advantage back to Astralis again.
Hey, he only saw a single lurk. He actually didn't see the likes of Jensi with that bomb. Now, Torsen's selling the B lurk the best that he can with time being low, but that bomb's going to end up on A.
Sprays very awkward from the man, though. Pressured. Jensi does find Patty in the meanwhile. Wallbang headshot. Unlay with the mid lurk as well to cut off even more rotations. That bomb yet to commit, but it will do so soon. Bro, meanwhile, goes down. SMG of Zipex, however, all-important kill at 15 seconds left. Torsen got to get that smoke down and get the bomb back of his own right. Has given a bit of time for MistGames to also rotate and Zipex to reposition.
Get that bomb plant forward. Both players out from the ramp control. Can't be denied.
East side and CT's trading places with themselves. Zipex and MistGames coming in from ramp. Unlay and Torsen in the backside. Moving closer together. Bomb in the open. Can be protected from 2 very different angles. The boost up for MistGames. Going to try cover one of them. Unlay might be ready for it, trying to readjust. Footsteps heard. Tap burst through. Torsen detected as Unlay gets MistGames. Zipex will quickly follow into the grave. 10-2 now. Masonic continuing their confidence in terms of the scoreline. Astralis talent making these rounds close, but they're not getting past the finish line.
This is just such a wild event, Jay. The fact that we're going into what is the 4th best of 3 of the playoffs, And so many of the maps, outside of that one map that we really saw against Mal's and the likes of Masonic, we've just had whitewashers. We've just had ones that have been completely ripped apart. Maybe the Ents one on Ancient to a stretch, but realistically, we haven't had many maps that have been competitive.
Yeah, this one is certainly turning out to be among the rest, I guess you could say.
Definitely so. Some Norwegian magic going on.
It's in the water in Lofoten. The very cold water.
How would you know, Joe? Can't come back from that one.
Well, let's be fair, mate. I've been on my game all week, and these guys, some of them have been jumping in that water, dude. I imagine they must be freezing their bones over. They can't quite aim properly, perhaps. I don't know. Torsen certainly can. Zipex. Kill found, tap burst through, can't quite get the follow-up. Bro can respond, and Mistar can follow suit to the man advantage. It doesn't last long. Unlay through the smoke, finds Bro, adjustments back as Syrah will drop that bomb. Unlay's pressured the M4 of Mistar, trying to wrap that corner, trying to get that man, flashes forward, don't catch him, blinded, so Christo gets given another decent kill. Gensi, 1 on 3, smokes in the way, won't be given vision and doesn't have the bomb.
They just stuck out of this round completely. And this entire round from Masonic came off of the back of winning an opening man advantage from Torsen's POV and just wanting to send it, wanting to get that pace up there to the B side. I think Mistar's done grand work from that generator position, because if he doesn't multi-frag from the right-hand side perspective of generators, this round isn't winnable.
Jancy's trying something else here. 15 seconds to get these 3 kills. First man spotted, that's the AWP picked up. Shots to the backside, 10 seconds. Smokes in the way, yeah, now he backs away. Now he decides not to go for it. Won't get given the chances, although Mistar's getting closer. Both players end up backing off. And Jancy can keep the AWP, Astralis can keep their 3rd round. But again, it's one after many in a row from the Masonic side.
And Mistar, here's that couple that we saw from him. Just when that bomb was looking to cross out. Maybe Syrah could have had his gun pulled out rather than the bomb to try and get it down from default. Astralis talent, it might be a 3rd, but you've got to counteract the idea of individual rounds being won on the CT side and thinking there's still a very good chance here from Masonic that they close this 12-3.
I'd say it's pretty likely as well. Astralis, their successes on this map against Masonic have always been bounded by their CT side, by being so successful in the defensive halves. And in fact, this has gone as awkwardly as it has. Even if it's 10-5, it might not be enough to recover.
And look at Syrah in a round where you want to try and put that pressure back on, you want to reset the money, gets an opening pick, Anlay with the boost up from mid. This round's finished.
Yeah, Astralis are just being fired upon by all cylinders of Masonic. Finally, Zipex can get a decent responsive in, but Syrah is so quick to take it right back. 21st kill in this matchup for him. It's only the first half. Still got one more round to go in the first half. And Masonic just continue to look absolutely lights out right here.
And this is without a doubt one of the best individual performances we've seen from a map of a rookie in this event. I think when you look at maybe Spook's not a rookie, right? He's been to LANs, he's been with that team of 0-0 prospects for quite some time. This is impeccable of a performance that we're seeing right now from Syrah, and he might even get more exit frags.
Upper court, Christo down, Bro does get the trade, Gency does get tagged up. Now there's more rifles on the way in. He's switching out to an SMG to try and evade the reload. Hoping that you can grab an AK instead, but that's not quite fallen to his feet. Throw step challenged, and he gets the kill to return instead. And Masonic, again, they let one round go. They get right back on Astralis talent. To the last round of the half. It's not looking good for the Academy side.
And I think it was Era that I was speaking to a few days ago that said that Syrah in practice and in scrims, even before he joined Masonic, was always a very talented individual. So I think he's been looked at as a couple of times as maybe that call up to a Danish squad, but now we've finally seen him. Now that Black's looked down the ranks, it's a classic Masonic story all over again.
5 SMGs out for Astralis in round 15 against something. Anything done against Masonic. Damage done to Torsen and Zero, that's a little something. But Bro's the first to fall to Gen C, and now they're charging against Passy point blank. He's going down, in over at the ramp control. Christo pressing around the corner, can't get much done of his own right. Sira with a responsive towards the man as Zipex got the only kill of the round so far for Astralis. He's on 19 HP, knees missed out of provide support, and he's nowhere to be seen.
Just an explosive round from Masonic. You're hitting out towards a B site, you're pressing mid, you're pressing ramp. That was very chaotic, there was a lot going on, but it's a 12-3 half from Masonic, and very similar to their map pick of Overpass that we saw against Mouse NXT. It was comfortable, it was strong, it was putting a massive tally of rounds up in the first half.
12-3. It's a monstrous T side. And again, just knowing the idea that Astralis have frequently held their successes on CT against Masonic on this map, that's the key thing that I take away from it. Their previous results have always been around the advantages they've taken on the defensive half, so now that's gone and dead.
I mean, I'll even counter that. If you count that a key thing, think about the idea that Vertigo is actually the third highest picked map in the pool for Masonic. They don't normally pick this. Maybe after a good performance against Mouse NXT and knowing some of the weaknesses on this map for Astralis, Talent decided to float it forward, but this isn't a standard pick for Masonic at all.
An eco strat on the pistol round for Masonic as well.
What a read, though. This is the Astralis boost out in mid.
How poetic to use it against Astralis Talent. Bro, first man forward, flash is turned away from. Engagement's found as they knock down 1 and 2 and 3. And the bomb's been dropped and all. Backup can arrive. They got one player outside of that boost play. And Astralis have capitulated in the pistol.
I want to know, what was round 16's notes there in Black Strat Book? That was an incredible read there from Masonic. Christo's trying to open up the B side, but he's completely alone. Zib's now the last one left. You can't really say much else about that. Masonic knew it was coming.
Zipex left alone to fall and make it look so easy as well there for Masonic. They fell apart in an instant on Astralis. And the pistol goes the way of their Danish rivals. Watch it again from Froslev's POV, the man that got those first 2 kills. It's not looking good for Astralis, is it?
No, not at all. They are having an incredibly tough time. The likes of Bro and Mistar are 2 go-to players for Astralis Talent on land, struggling individually, and it shows that across the board. Syrah is now 4 kills away from a 30 bomb, and we're going only into round 17.
Waiting for receival of these Glocks, but that's all they've got to play with. Astralis are going to go for the 14-3, a comeback attempt. Either that or pull something crazy out of the hat here. I have my doubts. Torsen. Tomas looks over towards the back line, hides himself in over a quad as Unlay and Crossfire support. Froslev kicks things off. SMG against Christo, now the T-side connect.
Anlay working on the contact out here from the right-hand side of the generators. Teammate up there from quad. And 14-3, 2 more to go. And for Masonic, they've just got to realize, let's close it down. I think we've had some issues over the course of the last handful of best of threes where it can take a few rounds to close it in and actually close down the map. They've got a lot of rounds to work with.
Now the guns come back in for Astralis. They've got a lot of rounds to make up. A lot of room to expand into. Got to go for the sprint tactic as well to try and get back to Masonic because they've really out of options here. Flash is sent in. Syrah going to try and take the tops control of the T side, of the CT side line, the exact same position that he charged up when he was on the T half. Incendiary's thrown in by the CTs. Patty, forward man, been tagged up already. Syrah's going to look for a gap. Does not see him just yet. Will start to do so soon. Catches the first and the second. Looking for his 30 bomb. Doesn't quite land it. Christo gets 2 on the turn.
Yeah, Gensi trying to peek on the contact, but peeked slightly too early and actually gave 2 kills back. Now, Masonic are making an info play. A slow walk forward out for the mid-control while they leave Torsen passive there in the likes of B. Anlay's even going to try and split the setup up. So they're going to have the mid-walk forward and have both of the players on A and B being defensive.
First left challenged up in mid, taking damage to the SMG. Forced to fall back into that mid control and play a much more careful angle. 19 HP for the man, he's got to be wary of that.
And like, very cheeky angle. Got to be careful about how wide you can get without falling off. Now this is super difficult to clear because on the run up, you're not going to see him.
Bristow will check everywhere but this particular girder. Utility bouncing off so close to Wars. Man swings, sees two, only gets one for it. Froslev reveals his position so Christo can take it back, but Torsen drops the bomb. 10 seconds has gone incendiary onto the bomb plant position. The nade towards Zipex as well will do some damage, but he's going to find an angle anyway, plant that bomb, and force the FAMAS to fight.
Zip, expecting some aggression to come out from the window room area. Gonna start backing off. Now Torsen has an idea that he can't get back over towards Crane, thinking there's a height advantage, in fact.
Leaning in, Zip is gonna catch him off guard. And for once, win a clutch for Astralis, bringing themselves within 10 of Masonic.
And I think it just shows there of the entire experience paying off in that 1v1. There was an incendiary that went down towards default. There was a HE that went over there towards default. And rather than panicking in that situation, he just gets it onto the back corner. Make sure that he can get that plant down, doesn't have to burn in the flames, and win that clutch up against Torsen. One of the very few the Masonic have let slip.
Still got SMGs in this particular setup as well for Masonic. Just the rifles across the entire board there, Astralis. Patty particularly first and foremost in with the Galil out, so it's not the most strongest of rifles. Smokes in Masira, SMG of Jensi goes for the challenge and somehow wins it on Patty.
That gets himself in the sandbag now. He might want to try and see if he can get towards that weapon. He's got to be careful in case anyone's close towards the sandbag.
Oh, Christo just spotted above that smoke. Jensi dipping in for more, and damn, they got a double.
He's doing well with this MP9.
Very well.
They've got a boost up as well. So if anyone comes out from the ramp side, they're going to get seen. Mistar's just throwing util towards the tarps.
Cyril looking over. Expecting there to be somebody out here. James is going to cover off side alley in 51. Have to account for everything. They will have most of their positions held, and Christo will get the kill towards Jensi in the end. Sira takes down Mistar Pro, quick to follow suit, out of the round, leaving Clutch Minister alone to clutch again in the 1-on-5 this time. Gets Jensi. And no more than that, Frosler puts him down. It's 15-4, map point for Masonic.
How many times, Jay, have we seen this? Astralis talent win a round and Masonic find the answer. We saw it in the Mouse game. We're seeing it here. Zip wins a 1v1. Look at what happens in the next round. The buy's not that great. You're down to a FAMAS. You've got an MP9. And everyone is just working off one another. There's that 30 bomb coming through from Sarah. 10 multi-frag rounds across the board of this first map. Excellent performance.
Not the kind of thing I expect from a rookie every day.
No, not at all.
Proving himself to be a player to stay on Masonic, perhaps.
Oh, build for the future. They've always done it with previous iterations.
Look to do it again with this guy. 15-4, looking for one more. Astralis just look at their position. They don't know what to do. They don't even know where to go with this default.
Yeah, but where can you? I mean, ramp control's been taken completely. And I think the idea that we're seeing this in a Danish derby on LAN in a semi-final just speaks to the confidence levels that maybe someone like Sarah has, because Black even spoke about it in his interview that he was nervous coming into this game. He was being real about it, and maybe being real with those emotions have allowed him to just be unleashed, unlocked completely.
The first step to solving a problem is acknowledging one that is there in the first place. Maybe there's no problems in this particular camp, but certainly acknowledging your emotions and nervousness has allowed them to do this. Jensi getting those 2 picks to start things off, seeing the rest of the entire Astralis force, calling the rotations back from the rest of Masonic, doing out tons of damage onto Bro and Zip. And it looks like this round may be over already.
It looks that way. Astralis talent are just stuck completely. They've got no other option but just to commit. They've got a single smoke, might have to put it in deep towards the elevators.
Put it out to the first cross instead. Try to hug the wall past the crane. Sierra can easily pop up and do some damage here. D looks to engage, force one player back, 10 seconds. Unlay involved now with the defensive line. They do get Frost there for one. Christo trying to sneak the bomb plant in, but Bro's gone down. Zipex does get two on the lineup, and maybe we're not quite done just yet. Torsen, something else to say about that. Has a smoke and a kit. Will put it down very quickly. Flashbangs to counteract, taps that bomb once. Christo will try to spray back against the man, doing so much damage for it as well. Continuing to try to adjust towards him. Torsen seeing those bullets fly his general direction, but just evading them on the defuse. Just stick the ninja. Torsen to win the map like this and make it embarrassing of an end against Astralis talent. Stand up to Showboat, sir. It's a 16-4.
What a performance coming through from Masonic. And I think we've seen it map after map, series after series. Impressive Counter-Strike being displayed from the Danes of Masonic.
Unbelievable at that. I honestly didn't see this coming. I thought they were going to win the map. I thought Astralis talent would do far better than what they did over there. But at a certain point, you've got to ask, what can you do? 30 frags for Sierra. That's incredible.
Yeah, for a guy that's playing his 5th map on LAN, again, all the circumstances in this kind of a game, you look at your more experienced players, you look at your Gensi, that strong rifle pack of Anlay and Torsen behind him to make sure that the goods are being presented in such a high impactful game. But in all honesty, he was a superstar. He delivered so much in that first half because really, this map was won by the first half. Getting a 12-3 scoreline on the T side with the multi-frags he had, he set themselves up for victory.
I'm still kind of a little bit lost for words, honestly, because this really was an unexpected sort of incredible performance in my eyes. And I start to wonder whether or not there was an element of them performing well on Masonic and not doing so great on the Astralis talent side. Because you look at the bottom end of that board and you think that there's still some players at single digits, but at the same time, I also think that maybe they weren't just given much of an opportunity because guys like Sierra were doing so well. Guys like Gensi and Nanlay were still having their impact and getting their own numbers on the board.
I mean, fundamentally, they were outclassed. Yes, we could look at that from Sierra and say, lot of impact, multi-frags up ramp. Even the mid-rounds, we were seeing so many late lurks on the T side. We were seeing some really good clutches as well. And when you have that combination of success with an individual standing tall, success with mid-round lurks, and success with clutches, you're going to put a lot of rounds up on the board.
A lot of rounds indeed they did put up on the board there. Masonic doing unbelievably well. I think we can all agree on that particular front. It was, of course, their map pick, though, Dwayne. So at the same time, you look at that and you think that, well, maybe there is a way back in for this Astralis talent lineup. The idea that they've got that Mirage, their own map pick up next, there's still a chance that maybe they could try and bring it back. But let's be honest here, it's going to be a mountain to climb.
Again, Mirage is a map that's kind of come through as a punish. Both of these maps have come through as a punish. They're not the go-tos for both of these squads, so you've got to realize that Astralis talent have a lot of days to prepare. They're going to come in thinking, okay, let's have something different with the Mirage. We know it's a weaker map in the pool for the likes of Masonic. So I think for Astralis talent, it's the perfect way to bounce back after a disappointing map 1 to go into a map 2 and have a successful result.
Well, let's see how quick they can go into map 2 as we head towards a short break and come back with Mirage. Decimation, domination, brutal, savage, wrecked, whatever you want to call it, that's how you could describe the first map of our best of 3 series between Astralis, Talent, and Masonic. A 16-4, Dwayne. Just look at it. Just look at it, man.
I mean, knowing that Bro and Mistar are on single digits is massively concerning. If you're an Astralis Talent player, if you're an Astralis Talent fan, because those are the go-to guys on LAN, always bringing good performances, and just missing, completely disappeared off the server on Vertigo, and it was because they were simply outclassed by Masonic.
Well, look, we have some rounds to highlight from that last map up, Dwayne. You wanted to talk us through a few bits and pieces, so let's just take a look just immediately at those and just talk me through. You've got a very early one, round 3, the first rifle round of the game. Walk me through.
Yeah, so they slow it down completely. I mean, Anlay's able to get a very good timing, gets himself out towards Guardian, and I just love the way that Masonic worked the mid-rounds. You've got the bomb trailing back out towards B, you've got Sierra working up towards the gap side, and then he finds himself in a position where he hears the over-rotates completely. Anlay realizes this is a great position to try and cut them off, to slow them down, and then Gensi makes the play of realizing, okay, Sierra's going to take a while to get into position. I need to try and take a fight. I need to press myself up close aggressively behind this smoke with the MAC-10, and Astralis Talent trying to peer around it. They're looking up towards Guardian. Sierra ends up taking that first contact out here from that Guardian position. Unfortunately, he does lose out that flight, but then from Gensi, plays the 1v1, realizes Mistar gets off that bomb, taps it a secondary time, and then just slows it.
Yeah, I love this whole sequence here. He's just playing around the generator, making sure Mistar can't get the kill. Even if he gets the kill at this point, it's too late to defuse the bomb. So that's just such smart individual play there from Masonic. Now you've got round 5, only a couple of rounds after the fact.
Yeah, so just knowing that Zip gets the opening man advantage, this is how strong Masonic are of answering back. So they lose that first pick, they start trying to put some pressure out here towards a ramp control. Christo gets caught up from the top, so there's that pick back from Syrah, and this is where that manipulation of rotations come back in. Syrah's able to start walking up the tops, Jensi's holding back down underneath, you've got Anlay falling off that mid control, and hang on a sec, how's this happen? Syrah's just walked all the way up from Ali, gets himself tucked right close towards the elevators, Bro is assisting with utility, catches off that first, turnarounds back towards Patty, and then tries to take the elevator control to bring that bomb back to A.
And you can see as well, Syrah was so focused on the sandbags position that he was ready just to peek into that. Had he not thrown that utility, that actually possibly could have been a kill on a return around. So
definitely
down awkward timing there from Astralis, and he's never really improved upon that. Syrah was allowed so much opportunities to get the frags that he got, and again, you saw that board earlier, 30 kills for him in this map up.
Yeah, he was an impact player. He brought a lot of multi-frags, a lot of very good entries up there towards the A site. So I think you could just see here from the 4v2, this round's finished. There's nothing that Astralis can do from that point onwards. You have to try and save, and that allows Masonic to get that 5-0 beginning, which warranted so much success for them.
Yeah, I mean, let's go on to the next round then. That's why not. Just round 20 very early on in this. What happened? Oh.
The smoke got caught, so it delayed them getting out towards the ramp control. So that slowed a little bit of time off of the clock, but it's more so how Masonic were able to try and punish as much of that ramp control as possible. You've got Jensi working on the contact. He peers down for that first fight, ends up multi-fragging, and now Masonic can just play the man advantage. You can play it super passively, you can waste down the clock, and I think Astralis Talent find themselves just trapped with the clock at this point onwards. You don't really have a massive amount of room to work with. You've now got that third rotation from Frostlev coming forward towards A, and from this point onwards, have good comms, establish a strong crossfire, and you can't not win that round. You're always going to trade.
And at this point, time's running way too low. Masonic have the crossfires locked. Astralis have no health, HP to work with. Like, just the worst circumstances at all when you're down on match point.
I mean, even Syrah, the fact that he's getting flashed forward to peek up from the top of Orange, that there's more utility coming through into the fold. Yes, there's a moment there that Bro gets a kill. They put some pressure on, they trade back and forth, and then Torsen has to win a 1v2 clutch to win out the game, peers down towards that left-hand side, and then this just comes down to the cold clutch situation. Taps it the first time, tries to draw out that fight. As soon as he gets tagged up to 10 points of health, he realizes, okay, I've just got to stick it. There's no other option here.
And it's going to hurt Astralis so much knowing that you lost it to a ninja defuse, because you don't know how much damage you've done in that particular case. All you know is that he's in the smoke, he's held the whole damn thing, and now they're smiling for it as a result here. Syrah, of course, the top performer from that last map, and now going into this one, all eyes are on him, because this is now 3 maps that he's performed, well, I guess 2 out of 3 maps, I guess you could say. He's performed extremely well, maybe 3 out of 3 that he's performed respectively well to add impact to his side overall, and certainly he's going to be, he's making a name for himself here in Lofoten.
Well, he's the highest rated player for the likes of Masonic in the last 3 months of Mirage. He's actually only played it 4 times, but he has averaged a 1.09 rating, so that is something to consider of his impact that he can find on that map. But across the board, Masonic are quite a weak team when it comes to Mirage. In the last 3 months, it's 1 win and only 6 losses, and of course, only 4 times being played with the likes of Frostlev and Syrah.
Well, last time they took on Astralis in the CCT close qualifier, they had a Mirage in that series. That was a 16-6, and again, that was the team with Ultex over on the on Astralis and Patty, and Jarko and Kier, of course, over on Masonic side. So it's very different in terms of where you can pull from that. That was a 16-6 for Astralis Talent. So I wanted to ask, is there similarities to sort of pull from in that sense? Like, I don't think it's going to be as one-sided a score as it was back then, given what we've just seen from Masonic in that first map up. But as you mentioned, it's not how they play that often over on that side.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be similarities when it comes to the scoreline. I think it'll be fairly familiar territory with the idea that Astralis Talent should win their map pick. Again, Mirage is a much stronger map for that team, and across the board for Masonic, they haven't been able to prove the strongest of Mirage results in the recent history with this current 5-man iteration. The only contradicting point is, well, online versus LAN has been very different from Masonic. Yeah. You take the idea of what they've been like in the last 3 months, a lot of exits out of closed qualifiers, the events that they've been able to make it out of as pretty much last places or very early exits. We haven't seen that many deep runs. The only deeper run we've seen recently is the Power League and of Season 22, where they lost to Astralis Talent in that semi-final to get a 3rd, 4th.
Remember, that's just like following on from the previous season season where they had actually taken on Astralis talent on the LAN environment of that Power League event. And again, you're talking about the contrast in LAN versus online. Right now, we're seeing the contrast in this particular matchup. Online, we've seen bashings from Astralis talent against Power League, against Masonic in tournaments like Power League and in CCT. Here on LAN, it's vice versa. It's Masonic doing the bashing, and let's see whether they can bash one out here and get into map 2 effective efficiently on the CT side. Start. It's the pistol round with Astralis quickly storming into the mid control, out into the connector position, looking out towards the A play. Frostev stands at his USP, spotting out the Glocks, spotting out the bomb carrier, calling in for rotations, but all of his teammates up on shore into the apartments. They're going to take their time to get towards the bomb site. If Mr. can draw out first blood, take Gensi down, look for a second challenge on Unlay, and Torsen can strike on connector.
Now, Patsy's at least got some map control out here towards jungle, and they're looking to try and press the fight towards CT.
Cristo and Chris Bex can combine alongside Patty to get one more pick, but Unlay's not done. Gets his 2K. Sierra now moving in from Palace. He might have made noise. The Apex has read him. USP still taps him out the server. And the adjustment's fantastic. Sierra is still white hot as he takes the pistol for Masonic.
Okay, he has come right into map number 2, feeling it again. Nicely done there from Sarah. And, well, if you've heard the name before, you've probably heard it in some very limited contexts in the Danish scene. He played on MZind, Link's Legacy, Vendetta, and Presapia was that last team. Not many of the known teams when you throw in your AGFs and your Tricks and maybe your Lingby Vikings. Your more familiar names in the Tier 2 atmosphere.
Or even a name like Masonic probably is the biggest team he's played for, right?
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Masonic are reveling in their find, and he's reveling in this opportunity to do so unbelievably well. Pistol taking, extending his numbers. Again, highest kill count in the early doors alongside him and Unlay. Rifles pulled out on both sides. The force by bolstered on Astralis by that bomb plant. Cristo with the opening. Sierra's got 2 to find and doesn't get either of them.
Hey, Gensi might be able to get a follow-up here onto Cristo. The issue is, what can they find after that fact? He's trapped out here towards a window position. At least he could put a smoke down for coverage.
Let's go his eyes set entirely on the window room entrance, the little vent scaffolding. Meanwhile, a backstab also inbound from Frostlev out to the Palace position is where he'll check. The bomb on his way in from the mid control with a couple of rifles that could try challenge Torsen and Patty in particular around this corner in ladder and short. And they might engage, and the fight is won by Patty.
Yeah, Patty's got the biggest advantage there with the shadow. Gensi's just trapped out here towards window, going to get peeked in from jungle and from the top of ladder. Nothing that he could do there. Frostlev's just got to try and save onto the MP9. That's a very good force buy round there from Astralis Talon. A lot of pressure in there from mid.
40 seconds, and there's really nothing they can do on Masonic's side. Astralis will get the bomb plant in. Frostlev just left to hold on to what little he has. The SMG, the Kevlar, smoke. So nothing made here for Masonic. Pistol may have gone their way, but the follow-up goes the way of Astralis.
I mean, we mentioned Masonic's history and touted success when it comes to LAN. I think the same conversation can be there for Astralis Talent. You think about that they've played 2 LAN events over the course of the last 12 months, both times making it to the grand final. You focus on the first one that they played, the MPF Invitational. They beat Flames Ascent, beat Tricked, beat Scepter, and then beat Tricked again in the final. The only other time was the Power League, an event which we've spoken about countless times, where they lost to Masonic in the final. So back-to-back events on LAN that Astralis Talent have made it all the way to the end. A forced by victory from them, which starts getting the economy in a back-and-forth affair. You wonder, for how many more rounds are we going to consistently see forced by success?
Could well be a war of attrition in the early portion of the game. It certainly would make sense with Masonic now being on double eco status. Got a tech pause before we walk any further. It seems to be with Astralis for now, so we'll get information on that when we do. Yeah, not the best of positions for Masonic, certainly not the most confident the position they've been so far in this series. Astralis would love nothing more than to take the lead away from their opposing Danes. That win percentage, though, that's not ideal, honestly, Dwight. For Masonic, at least.
Yeah, but we mentioned it when the game started, didn't we? 1 win, 6 losses, last 3 months. Has not been a great map for them. We know that in recent history, they've been getting the likes of Mirage and Anubis out as the permabans. And actually, before Anubis came into the map pool, I should say, it was pretty much Mirage being the insta-ban for Masonic. So they've had to change it slightly. So depending on their opponent, they either ban Mirage or Anubis.
In this case, it's Mirage out for this matchup. Forcing their way back into round number 3 will try and bring the fight back to Astralis Talent. Indeed, it will be war of attrition for the time being, but will they be able to force back a force buy on their opposing Danes? Damage done to first level early by the peaks and nades in from ramp. Bro's done work.
Yeah, Bro's a very strong player out here on Mirage. Averages a 1.12 rating across the last 3 months. And 14 maps played for Astralis Talent. 8 wins and 6 losses to their name. And Patty lining up atop connector smoke as the likes of Mistar starts gaining the underpass. You've got a double stack in connector right now for Masonic.
Leaning in from the mid control. Mollies are set and Mistar tries to lean up here, tries to catch first level and late. Crossfire's locked in those 2 SMGs. They're not going to extend far out here. They're not looking to challenge for connector control.
They're very cautious. And it looks as if the Danes and Masonic are getting a read. They've been very good with stacking bomb sites.
Mistar with the kill, Frost left to fall. Next player to peek, Unlay, doing decent work on the one player, but not the second. Syrah, however, comes in from the ladder room, makes it a 3-on-3. And now Gensi in it dark, undetected. Perfect headshots against Christo and Bro. And Mistar drops to him the same. What a sequence and what a round.
How similar was that to the Milty Deagle that we saw in the Ents Academy game? Just one player being overlooked and instantly slamming back into action. First off, I don't know how Mistar didn't die there out towards the left-hand side of connector, but Gensi brings it right back, peeks back into top con. What a beauty of a 3K.
You could see how hyped they got off the back of that, the screaming from Masonic. They have been bringing their energy so far here.
And I love it, because that's a local landfill.
Another buyback from Astralis. The rifles are back in play for them. Vice versa applies to Masonic, and Bro's the first man to fall. The Galil of Christo can't quite find the player over his short. Gensi going to reposition and adjust towards players that make their way inbound from the sniper nest when the smoke's clear. They've got another one back on there from the T-side line. Look at Syrah. Look at how far up close and personal he wants to get here. Up and short in the ladder, and he might catch the players off guard. Patsy's found a responsive, though.
They're putting so much emphasis on trying to fight out towards a mid-control, but in fact, it's working out against them. They're losing a lot of picks. Christo's going to be a goner, but Syrah needs more.
Couldn't find the player at danger. Patty's going to evade that connector presence. They must be aware of the threat that Syrah is. Gensi, corner against Patty. Can't adjust towards the man, turned away from it. Torsen can't even get the trade either. Feed themselves around that position, and Syrah needs an ace clutch to hold in this 1v3. They are low HP, but he doesn't fancy his chances. Save the AK, does catch off one. But again, no attempt at a retake.
And that might just be Masonic realizing we could have played man advantage there. We had an opening pick from Syrah, play defensive. Instead, they get aggro. They start hunting down from mid. Syrah's going to get hunted out to the apartments. We go back and forth for yet another round. And for Astralis Talent, they just found a great avenue up there towards connector. And it wasn't without Patty's hold from that jungle angle.
Two apiece as a result. Sonic wouldn't doubt the idea of a force buy to follow it up. And
well, they've got no choice, do they?
M4 needs to get bolstered for Masters in double eco status. Heavy investments from both sides, and they will dish out some early damage onto the likes of Patty. No major contact early.
Yeah, Christo's waiting for some aggression to come through from connector. Now, rather than from the top of it, it actually goes from underneath. And Anlay takes a lot of damage because of that.
Slow progress in from the T side up towards mid. Gensi not going to get seen in that gap in the cross. Lanes up as a boost for Torsen. Tries to figure go over this in the blocks and on towards the short presence. It's going to spot one player, so Mistar gets caught unawares.
A nice opening man advantage, and now they're putting even more emphasis on trying to fight out towards that chair position. Two-man advantage, and now here comes the B-exec.
Mars on Torsen, 5-on-3 for Masonic. He hides in the smokes alongside the Eagle standing by. One player close to sight, it's Unlay. Are they aware of him? They might not be. Syrah gets engaged upon. Zipex gets caught off, but he gets 2 kills for it. Christo can follow suit, bring it back to a 2-on-2, and turn on towards Syrah, leaving it all on Torsen. Undetected, perhaps? Certainly is towards one. Now to the second, his position's been revealed, and then from Mars, can still win the fight anyway. One-on-one against the Clutch Minister, but there's a new sheriff in town.
There is. Maybe that round could have been a bit easier to close, Jay. It was a 5v2 advantage there for the likes of Masonic. I give so much credit to the likes of Christo and Zip to try and recover that. That is not an easy round whatsoever. Torsen finds himself in a very uncomfortable clutch situation. And once again, the young man in clutches, Masonic in clutches.
They're looking good. Now they've just got to break this back and forth. They've got to get around in a row. Try and set together a decent sequence here on the CT side. Line establish some decent scorelines to close the half with. Astralis got no bomb plant there, so they're again going to be buying in, but now they haven't got quite as many rifles as before.
I don't think that's made much of a difference in the force buys, though, have they? I mean, we've seen some very awkward exchanges with what's actually been brought to the table. From Masonic's POV, though, knowing that the two rifle players have been tagged up early, you should be closing this round down. You've got every advantage to work with.
Yeah, unless maybe Zipex passes the AK off towards Mistar, who's got the head Kevlar and 100 HP. Ultimately, it's just double peek in from him and Christo, though. And Christo gets put back in by Frostlev. So, 4-on-4 situation. Smokes in the way to keep that player suppressed.
And now even Gensi's working out from the ladder control, which means Torsen can try and get back in deep mid, because there is an angle of approach in which they could get aggressive into window with Gensi looking out to the short angle.
Set on a ladder, looking into the sniper's nest.
There you go.
Saw Mistar. There you go. That's one kill. Just back towards two more. Lined up against by Zipex, who does get the trade back to a 3-on-3 again, keeping things relatively even standing. 20 seconds. But now that AK is on low HP. He hasn't passed it off towards Bro. Patty, man alongside him. They regroup under the bomb site. Torsen's going to wait, try and deny that bomb plant at the right moment. And Patty's got him marked. All-important frag there.
That's a massive kill from Patty. That's a round-winning kill. And now they're trying to take the apartment's control. Adelaide's got to come through from the short control. Zip playing out from Van. Both of the market players are watching for the rotation in from CT.
If only they had a nade, Zipex could go falling and take one of the AKs out. But now with the forward contact being revealed, in the end, they think it's better to hold on to their weapons. Even then, they've got such little time without a kit. So we go back and forth. Once again, 3 apiece. Astralis not willing to let this go against Masonic.
Torsen played that really well. Realized, I want to play the time. I want to peek out to deny the bomb. But Paddy had his sort of crosshair ready. Had himself in a position where he knew there probably was going to be a fight to deny that bomb from going down. And it possibly makes you think, would it have been better if Anlay rotates towards market rather than trying to get out towards that mid-control? If he goes out to establish more of a crossfire to help the likes of Torsen defending up against B. Masonic had a lot to work with there, and they could not close the round down. And it's Patty again. There's 2 rounds here from Astralis Talent. The last 2 that they've won that have been down to Patty.
Those efforts making Masonic take a tactical timeout here. Right time to do so in my eyes. You've tried a number of strategies, a number of attempts to try and break this war of attrition, and so far they've not worked out. They've just been back and forth since the word go. Maybe you could have saved it in for when you had the full investment round, or maybe when you steal one back and you had a better buy. But with how successful these have been for both sides, it makes sense that you would try your hand at making this kind of force invest work out for Masonic.
Khalil, you just don't have a choice, do you? When you're anti-eco, you can't even think like that. You just have to buy it down.
I'm more thinking about the round success attempt, but either way. Khalil saved in for Unlay. For Mars, the SMG, the 2 Deagles. Masonic set in and ready to receive the hit onto the A side. It's a set piece. Smokes down to connect to jungle and stairs. Counteraction utility ready for the CT side. Flashes in particular will try and blind them off. Frostlev in the back lines of the site in a ninja. They are stalling things out here as much as possible. Mistar catches 1, takes some damage of his own right. Meanwhile, Anlay gets himself in alongside Syrah, whose Deagle can strike on 2. Patty falls to trade back with 2 of his own. Speaking of the 2s, it's all the 2s. 2v2 right now.
A bomb dropped down to the open. Paddy and Zip have so much time to work with. Now a lurk smoke coming forward towards the front side of the site itself. Torsen's still working around top connector and jungle.
Less than 60 seconds. Watching out for more still. Torsen just watching back here at the stairs, waiting for someone to round that corner, and he may well get it. Zipex has got across towards that bomb site.
And this just gets so slow. And now the mind games come through because Jensi's even moving further away, thinking, have they fallen off and gone back to B?
20 seconds on the clock. Utility thrown just to indicate where they're going to. You're flashing towards CT, and nade on the Zipex will not be able to get the kill for it. Doesn't even do that much damage, it lands short.
Now Torsen has got to try and bring distraction away. They won't expect Jensi to come from A main.
Unless they check it on Patty's part. Zipex, sword, not quite dead. And now Patty's been detected. Torsen's going to try and move in, look for the wallbang kill. Knows that he's out there, knows that he's low. Flash out against the likes of Patty, gets that pick in. Zipex with it all to do, caught off by Jensi. And Masonic win yet another force by yet another lead.
Excellently played there from Masonic. Just notice how, first of all, you're never going to clear A main, because why would you in that kind of round? That's a massive backstab. But the way that Jensi comes over to Torsen, because they know that Paddy's gone aggressive towards CT, they know that Zib's playing there from default. Notice how Torsen didn't peek towards CT. As soon as he gets to that right-hand side of triple, what's he doing? He's looking to CT, waiting for Patty to swing on the contact.
Masonic defend their lead one more time, but the bomb plant enables the full AKs to come in for Astralis. -1 individual, actually. The Deagle set in by Bro. Got Jensi finding Patty, kicking things off on the right foot for the CT side.
Finally, is this going to be the round that breaks the Force Fire Wars? Anlay and Frost left to peek on the contact out here towards ramp. There's a lot of players being seen. It's very awkward in the exchange, and there's a lot of damage to be done.
Kill's gone the way of Masonic, though. 5-on-4, making it 4-on-4 as Frostlev has fallen. Trying to rotate back here on the Astralis camp. Bro's had a cut rotation. Jensi has no idea. Shot in the side of the head.
And this has just been an absolute wild start to Mirage. Sarah's going to try and see if he can find a response in from mid. But Astralis Talent, now the advantage goes their way.
60 seconds.
Oh, they've got a read. Look how heavy the stack is to be.
Second man on the way in, third player. Go ahead and join them soon. First port of call is Torsen. But now Zero draws attention to the backside. This might be the perfect chance for that AK to strike out a window. He's seen Mr. Christo, Zipex fallen! And Zero makes it a double to finally break the back and forth and get 2 on the trot for Masonic.
And I don't know where I should give the credit the most. Is it to the likes of Frostlev as the in-game leader? Is it to some of the individuals from Masonic that used to be part in-game leaders? Or is it Black? They have read CT stacks to absolute perfection over the course of this entire playoff bracket. So many times in this series today and in the series against Mouse NXT, in uncomfortable situations, they are reading the right stack.
Now it's a harsher pistol eco here for Astralis. Masonic. Well awares of the position they find themselves in. A real sick chance to try and take control now of this CT side, one that's been contested so much by the Talent team. First kill's gone the way of them. Zipex goes down.
And just knowing that you've got to contain in this kind of round. You're up against very little. You don't want to lose players. And Frostlev with the MP9 is looking up there from Sandwich around the Tetris area, trying to farm some cash. They'd like to get the AWP in the hands of Jensi soon.
Perfect chance for the SMG to get up close and personal, and both of them will. Chase him back. Mistar caught dead. Christo falls to the AK. Hattie down next. The last man standing is Bro. Out of the hands of Syrah. So lots of money gained by SMGs in that round.
And just consider the idea. Just consider this for a moment, Jay. We went into this event thinking there's not really a heavy favorite. Everyone's quite close. Yeah, maybe you can put Astralis Talent in that conversation. Maybe you can put Prospects in the recent run of form, but there wasn't a clear one. How was every single series shaping up to be a 2-0? Nothing was pointing to that moving into this bracket at all.
The land buff.
Yeah, maybe.
So even then, we talk about teams who are doing particularly well online, weren't able to translate that success so far this week. Squads who had a lot of question marks surrounding them with the roster changes that they've had. I mean, both teams in this case were. But that core of Masonic that's done so well internationally at certain periods has certainly come to life with their newer additions also pulling their weight. In this case, Sira's going to be dead weight in this round. First casualty down as he tries to hunt for even more opening picks. And you can understand why he's doing it. He's on 13 kills.
It's not just that, it's just the Masonic style, isn't it? Always try and press the issue, always take map control away. That was well read there from the likes of Astralis playing up from top mid. Jensi's going to try and find that follow-up. There's Util going down out to the mid control. They don't know about Mistar pressed up in the apartments. And as soon as that drop from Van comes over, he hears the footsteps, and peeks on the contact.
5-on-3 situation. Torsen trying to look for Mistar around that smoke. 50 seconds on the clock. Been thinned out on the CT line.
It seems to be trying to force an over-rotation out there towards a B site with the indication of a B split, but it's actually going to be a connector work into A.
And like, Frostlev on the crossfire back here in jungle. Christo caught. Now 3 to line up, and they're going to line up so perfectly for the man. He only gets the 2 frags. And Torsen has a much more difficult clutch to make happen. Molotov sent his direction. Mistar charges into him, gets that pick, and keeps home number 4 for Astralis.
And I think it just shows there from Astralis' talent, once they work the opening man advantage, slow it down, freeze, wait to see if Masonic are going to be able to counteract. You have the Van individual making noise, Mistar peeks in, you then start working up towards connector, and yes, it does get awkward for a moment. There's a lot of players lining up there from that triple angle, but it's only a multi-frag. Mistar shuts the round out. Torsen can't do anything. Masonic get another buyback, and finally, we get to see the big green in the hands of Jensi.
AWP's out on the CT side, not so much for the T side yet. AK's worked wonders in the last round though. Torsen jump facing with that nade in hand, put up perfectly to do some damage. 3 players chunked away upon as they go in for the hit. Another HE lands right to Zipex. A third one, I think, also tagged with 16 HP. And they cancel the hit. They back out of the apartments and right into the hands of one more. Unlay set in, sees Patty, gets that kill, looks in for more. Christo feeds up some HP damage, but not quite the second casualty. Either way, look at the HP bars of the T side.
I can't believe it. AWP's in top mid, and Torsen's pressing out to the apartments. He might get caught off of the back of this, though.
Zipex looking the wrong way, though. Perfect adjustment. It only takes 1. Such low HP. And now the T's are just nowhere to be seen. Backed up in their spawn, rotating to the A site.
This CS is just madness. And I think Black describes it perfectly. It's explosive. It's wild. It's all over the chop.
40 seconds. Frostlev just jump facing. Smoke in, Christo. Just an AWP lands a collateral, perfectly timed. And perfectly picked. 7-4 Masonic. Well, now we're starting to see a couple of similarities from that last map up. Not quite as streak heavy for the CT side as it was back over on Vertigo.
And not always, Jay, do I share the same sort of, guidance when it comes to streaks. But I tell you what, I'll join you on this one. It is looking similar. The way that the Counter-Strike's being played, the rounds that are coming through, Masonic are looking on the ball.
And again, you just see the mentality within their comms, within their attitude, their body language, their celebration, their whole sort of get-up, essentially. That all streams confidence to me.
100%.
And Astralis just can't seem to deal with it right now. Back down to the pistols, the upgrades of the Deagles, the Glocks. P250, I think they're on Patty as well. Either way, not much to play with against the full gambit of rifles that Masonic have out here.
And I think Black said it perfectly. They're just having fun. They're not coming here under the pressure from the org of Masonic to say, you've got to get a result, you've got to get a trophy. Like, yeah, your coach is even the CEO of the company, and he knows that things have been awkward. He knows that it hasn't been easy. So take the pressure off the lads, let them have some fun, and let them rip like they're doing here in Lofoten.
See, typically the org is standing behind you is like a pressure, like a pressure sort of thing. But in this case, no, he's standing behind you, sure, but like in a positive way. Like he's backing you boys, and he's set those expectations. Just with the beauties of being part of a smaller organization in that sense. Right now, they're finding success for it. This eco being not, well, this anti-eco not being much of a problem at all. Upgrade pistols. They've gotten a couple of frags, so actually is a little bit more expensive than you'd like to see, but they have got the round on the board, and most importantly, they have the half.
2 more to go for double digits. Masonic could be shaping up for a fairly similar scoreline than what we've seen over the course of map number 1 and even in previous series here on LAN. Astralis Talent of having it tough. And when you think we had the back and forth affair, we had the 3-3 scoreline, it's now 4-8. So while it was very narrow-minded with being tight and back and forth, that stopped.
Tactical timeout taken by Astralis, and at this point they definitely need it. Because now it's slipping back into old habits. 3 rounds in a row by Masonic, gotten back by 1 by Astralis, then followed up by 2 more after that. Again, not as heavy-handed for the Masonic side, but similar to what happened on Vertigo. And if it keeps going down like this, then Astralis Talent will not have much of a chance to get properly into this map.
Again, where's Bro? Like, you have to pose the question, he's their best LAN performer. Last 12 months, 14 maps played, positive 77 KD difference, and a 1.24 rating. Disappeared in map 1, disappearing in map 2. Maybe similar to Milty of what we saw in the Ents Academy game.
Patty disappearing from this round here. Top of the board, actually, like the tangible performer right now for Astralis Talent.
Oh, he's been their best player. Think about some of those kills he was getting in post plants in that back and forth streak.
And now he can't have any impact at all. He's gone.
Opening picks from Gensi. It shows how much they want, and they're even going to try and peer an info play close towards A main. Flash around the corner. Possibly an overextension too far. Bro cancels that.
4-on-4 for his efforts. Zipex now moving in from mid as backup in the form of Mistar and Christo. Sierra's on the A site alongside Gensi's AWP. These two having very passive positions, so they might let them in. Will they get the bomb plant for this, though?
You can't imagine so. I mean, even Anley's starting to reposition down towards CT, and Gensi's going to look out to connector. Didn't quite see the vision, now seeing the AWP, and now knows what's going on.
Christo watching, smoke in, looking back towards the Palace entrance. Damage being done with Anley spraying through onto Mistar. Kill found through the smoke. Gensi follows suit on Bro. The AWP heard, and Torsen just leans in, sees them both, strikes on both. Pulls his patient tactics and pulls another one out of the hat here for Masonic.
I don't want to be that guy, Jay, but who would have thought Masonic are on to get to the grand final in this LAN? Again, we came into this event thinking they are one of the weakest teams, probably the weakest team. I'll say that right now. They were, on paper, the weakest team coming into this competition. But how many times do we look at that, Jay, and say, sometimes that's a good thing? Sometimes being that team that everyone overlooks, that everyone thinks isn't going to be the one that goes the distance, is oftentimes the one that does.
Tech9's pulled out, half by execution, trying to come in the set piece into the A site. Astralis are desperate to hold on to anything right now. Rush them down, play the numbers game against them. The nades sent out a little bit early from Frostley. He does find Mistar thanks to the damage compounding. Gets onto the bomb site as well. Bro and Co may be able to catch him off guard, but Syrah is getting involved alongside Gensi, diving into the sandwich position, getting a double up. Patty with a trade back with the M4 picked up, still a 3-on-2 right now for the Masonic side. Patty trying to get that bomb plant in, so he'll be successful in that regard. It's the retake that's the problem.
And Torsen's got a HG coming out from CT position. AWP doesn't quite get the shot off straight away.
Flash over, Patty's going to get taken down as all on Bro. 1-on-3, jumping around a corner. Tech9 struggling with the kill. Gets it, Gensi's on the bomb though. And Anley is going to be able to get the kill for a 10-4 score. Masonic continuing to look good, opting for the double orb setup as well in the next round. They save both of them.
Yeah, this is actually the first time that they run the double AWPs. They brought it into the last round, they're bringing it forward again. And Torsen's a very good hybrid player, a very solid anchor that can hold double AWPs when required. And even when I think back to when he was playing on Uber, there was him, Berry, and the likes of Stair, and Torsen was one of the better players on the lineup, so that would have probably been a very harsh feeling when Stair got that call up to Sprout to think, well, what about me? What about my chance of the call-up? He gets the call-up to Masonic, and they've always been a very solid team over the course of the last 12 months or so, outside of the recent dip of form.
In the end, Anley does opt to go towards the AK instead, so not the double AWP setup.
Drops it in the end.
was thinking about it for a second, though. You could see that idea from Masonic. I guess probably because they don't play it so much. Maybe they don't want to try and pull anything fancy out and do something unpredictable that could punish themselves and get punished by the Astralis talent side. Round 15 sees one more set piece. Miss Smoke generating a gap there in the connector jungle cross. Bro can still take down that trade, make it a 4-on-4. Bombs on site and should be planted, so for round 15 it will be another retake for Masonic.
They've got a super late lurk up from top mid of Patty, so I wonder how successful this is going to be, because it's going to get cleared.
Checked upon, and Anlay gets the kill on Patty. Advantage for Masonic. Astralis. Christo seeing one, trying to catch his shoulder, and he gets the trade back to evens once again. All three remaining players in connector, flashing their way forward, smoking off in at the Palace entrance. The two CT players, though, are the big concern. Astralis have Bro set on, Torsion to fall. Hanley with a decent trade, and now Zipex holds his nerve on the defuse. They'll get towards it. No scopes don't work, but the spray spline certainly do. One-on-one, Jensi's not got time. And it will be a fifth for Astralis to close on a high note, but still 10 to the board of Masonic to finish off the CT side.
It's a very good scoreline coming through from Masonic, and they average less than 40% of rounds on their T side of Mirage in the last 3 months. So to actually see them getting double digits is very far out of the equation on typically what we see on this map.
10-5 half, not quite as confident as the 12-3 we saw over on Vertigo, but still, you look at that and you still think that Masonic have quite the advantage to play from going into the T half. Again, it is Astralis' own map pick, though, Dwayne. Is there anything in the second half that they can try and weasel their way out of this position?
Oh, well, they've given themselves the reverse of what happened last time. You spoke about that 16-6 on the head-to-head. It was 10-5 for Astralis. So to now look at this as being a 10-5, if I'm going to be honest with you, Jay, there actually aren't that many clear-cut positives right now for Astralis talent.
Masonic only got one round in that last map up on the T side. Again, that was off the back of the 10-5 half, as you mentioned. It will have to be CT positives that give Astralis their way back into the matchup. And their survival here in the Heroes of Lofoten. It's Anlay to draw out first blood. Patty dealt with. Mistar down to Syrah. Christo, no back in towards ticket booth, and Syrah's going to catch him while blinded. A 5-on-2 instantly for Masonic, and Astralis has just pushed out of any chance to win the pistol round.
This could even claim the series, couldn't it, Jay? 10-5 half, winning pistol, playing with confidence, having everyone in a 5v2, damage to be done, pressing the issue out towards CT. Astralis are trapped completely.
11-5. Zipex. The Clutch Minister still can't do anything to support his team in this context. It's a 1-on-5 that you just don't win, even for the best of players in the world.
It's so surprising that this isn't competitive. Again, Masonic have put up 2 series as back-to-back where you can say that the Vertigo was close against Mouse NXT, a massive comeback, and maybe the international squad just struggling to close with the limited LAN experience. But against Astralis talent, you don't expect that. This is a team that's very solid on LAN with very strong and capable individuals in these environments.
USPs and P2K out. Astralis harsh ecoing this round, the gamble stack into the B site, just looking to hopefully get a rifle away, but mostly focus on the next gun round because that's the main area which they're going to have to be able to fight from. There's just no firepower here at all.
Just a quick thing, Jay.
Okay.
Is an anti-eco. How much percentage of nervousness would you be right now?
For Astralis or for Masonic?
Oh, definitely not for Astralis. Why would you even ask that?
Because here's the thing, right? Like, if you're Astralis, yes, you are letting an you are going to let this anti-eco, or you should be able to let this anti-eco go. You look at the scoreline above all else. Right?
I was more meaning the impact of the round itself.
Okay, well, I mean, for Masonic, probably not that much because I've been performing so well against the Astralis side. Because let's be honest here, they're going to get to 12-5, and that scoreline in and of its own right is a perfect example of how well they're doing. But if I'm Astralis right now, I'm sat there thinking, yes, I have to set this round off because it's an eco basis, but that's another one in which Masonic will be able to hold above us and will be able to just be able to extend this lead and hold more confidence in the end of it. A couple of exits do come through. They try and get these rifles out of their hands. So Galil on one. So in AK on the other, no, another Galil, so not even that much being lost in the grand scale of Masonic. That's a bit more of an impactful frag, so now I do start to sweat a little bit. Zipex, 1-on-2, no kit, no util, no even Kevlar. The AK has been picked up, but it will get dropped once again. Should get recovered by the last. 4 more to go for Masonic.
I mean, not surprising again. 3 casualties. We've seen struggles of anti-ecos all events so far. One thing that I would like to put into question is that Frostlev's not even officially signed to the team. We know at the moment that he's playing with them, but there hasn't been an official welcoming to the roster. I think if you make it to the grand final of a LAN event, I think the welcoming's definitely there.
You talk about like players who aren't signed. I mean, he's not like he's not signed, but Sirius has only recently joined the roster within the last couple of weeks, so even he's as fresh as can be. First couple of picks going back and forth. Anlay and Christo. Frostlev onto Bro, gonna find the advantage once again for Masonic, and Mistar can't do anything against Torsten. Drive-by headshot. Sarah back in mid, does get caught on the reload, and Patty and Zipex can trade him and a teammate, so it is a 2v2 now.
If they go for this, though, it's a risk. Bomb plant goes down, low HP. I think you save here.
Patty's such low HP that he's going to get caught off in the murder hole, dead to rights in an instant. Torsten takes a dink, but is ultimately left alive. Zipex. Again, no kit, a smoke at least. Trying his hands to roll back the years. Torsten, undetected. Back's turned, AK spots him and sprays him down with a 3K to his name. A 13-5. Masonic just stacking up the rounds, and Astralis' time starting to come to an end.
Yeah, it's feeling that way. It's felt that way for a while. Masonic just been all over them in this series. Completely outclassing them. Has not been competitive at all. Torsten, he's had a great game. And you can see it every time. Anytime it's him to close down a round, he's pumped, he's excited. And that's the emotion of a team that's looking like they want to be super successful.
Imagine there'd be people that'd be watching their first ever Counter-Strike event, and if this was their one, and we talked up the derby so much, in the Swedish derby and the Danish derby, they might have to question how close those games can be. Because this one and the Prospects Ninjas one has not been living up to expectations in the Heroes of Lofoten.
I don't think it's a true representation to what these games typically are.
So 4-on-4 for now. Scout for Zipex, caught off by Sira, not dead, not tagged, but has been driven away from Market. He's allowed access to the CT spawn, the CT stairs, where Bro has got to try and strike back, get dealt with, and the A site is open for business.
Christo's just trapped up here from ladder, waiting for a lurk to come through from window. Now they've been seen out from connector, but even Patty's trapped too.
Swing of the CZ, see several, get a couple of players tagged up, but not quite finding the kills. Jensen on his way back in, the bomb set to get towards that A site, get planted. Jensen just keeping himself held back and trying to cut these rotations. He had that AK out of Patty's hands if possible. Christo's seen, Christo's dead. The last two just fall back to save.
And this is an Astralis talent team where we saw Mistar play at the RMR, we saw him play at Alyssa Masters, we saw Christo at that same event, Bro playing at one of the Road to Rio RMRs, Zip with 12 lands with Astralis in the last 12 months, some top 2 placements, some top 4 placements. I mean, when you just put the LAN versus LAN between the two individually, I think it gives you a very different story than what the team versus team LAN successes are. But to just know that Masonic are putting this up against you, even the kill distribution spread is very tight across the board from Masonic on map 1 and on map 2.
They're loving it as well.
In the element.
They are so confident right now. They feel confident, they look confident, both in server and in real life.
And I mean, I'm sure someone like Frostlev is using this event as fuel to prove to everyone that he's still got it. Because again, he's a reputable IGL. He proved it on Fragsters, he proved it on AGF, he did it with Sashi. Yes, he might have done a year of assistant coaching at Copenhagen Flames, but he was still a very good IGL.
Kind of makes you wonder what the motivations were to go towards a coach if you're doing this well. Don't go back, certainly. Masonic, would love for him to stay. I'd love for this confidence to stay. Astralis trying to make plays, although Anlay's about to walk right into them. Is he aware? I think he might be. He's checking out all the wrong positions, though, so Bro can start things off.
You'd never expect that, would you, at all? Both players being covered out there from the wall. And Frostlev trying to work the mid-control, him, Torsen, and Syrah. And now it's a complete regroup. Masonic, they've been good in man disadvantage scenarios.
Incendiaries and smokes on. Frostlev leaning, Patty picked up. Torsen with that kill. It's back to a 4-on-4.
And now for Astralis talent, they've got a lack of information. Zip looking up towards the apartments. It seems like it's going to be a B-pop with a late lurk out from Syrah towards top con.
Leaning into apps for now. 2 players on the defensive. 1 player at boost. Incendiary should stall the execution itself. Masonic have put a lot of utility towards this, though, so if they're going to have to commit, they might have to do it dry. Bro there to cut them off in an underpass. Gensi's caught. Torsen with a trade back, seeing where that bomb's going. Meanwhile, 1 man in over at jungle to cut, rotates. The player at shore is going to be the next big concern. Taps coming in against Mistar. Torsen needs to win this fight. That's exactly what he'll do. Get to the bomb site, but the AWP and the CT spawn catches him with Zipf's trade. It leaves Syrah alone to save. Might even die after time. Indeed, he will go down. I don't know what the money looks like there for Masonic, but it is denial for map and match point.
I think Masonic actually made the right read. They go for the B-pop with the late lurk up top con. Syrah realizes there's actually a lot of space. Let's bring that bomb back over. Bro dives down out towards underpass and gets a 1-for-1 trade. And that AWP plays it to absolute perfection there from Christo. Play the time, drop that bomb. Masonic do everything they can. That's a tough shot. That's not an easy kill whatsoever.
Beauty. And Astralis still have a beating heart. It might not seem like much of a pulse, but it is there. It's life. As they find the opening kill again and try and build some sort of potential now in this map up. For now, it's just that opener.
Well, if there's any time to show us some creativity and show us some explosive nature on City side, it's right here when your backs are up against the wall, to try and make plays, to make advantages happen. Peeking down towards Connector, works out for an opener. Zip can play down on that short control while actually the AWP is playing a slight B anchor role. Notice how Astralis talent are very defensive, not really making any more info plays from this position onwards.
Don't really need to have that man advantage. Don't overextend and give up any sort of kills back. We saw Masonic making those mistakes on the CT side occasionally. Back into the execution to the A site.
Anlay, look to him to try and open something up, try and crack an entry. Mistar's going to be the first point of contact for HE.
Nades on damage, 55 HP. Spray against Mistar to 30 points off himself. But Patty in a firebox is going to sit back here. Bomb tapped once. They lean on Torsen. Take the frag. Bro gets dealt with. And Patty tries to strike, but Gensi deals with him 3-on-3. Plant can be secured. Syrah just sprayed back by Mistar, but he sneaks the bomb plant in time.
Oh, Gensi's going to late round this. He's going to try and get out towards mid. No, back into Palace. Adelaide just stuck. Has to try and fight out in the open, and Gensi can't really do much from here.
Back in at Palace once again. They're on the defuse, tapping it. Trying to force that man to peek. They think he might be inbound from ramp, but Christo now holds the defuse, though he sticks it, gets off of it for the defuse kit player instead. Got to swing towards Mistar, Gensi. Oh, just gets the man, but the kit's in place. They're going to grab onto that defuse real quick. They should have enough time for this. And Astralis will keep hold of 7.
Unfortunately there for Gensi, you are hoping that Anlay can stay alive for as long as possible. And I truly think that there was trying to be a wrap through T-Spawn out towards mid, but with Anlay getting mollied out from that firebox position, he realizes, I've got to go Palace here. I can't allow myself to try and late lurk as far as he did. And the bomb's not even planted for you in that position either. Mistar with a triple. And Astralis talent, well, they're surviving for a few rounds at least.
Should get one more out of it as well. Pistols back in from Masonic. Been a long time since we've seen them on a true eco position. Only upgrades on Torsen and Unlate. Bro and Christo striking in with the AWP on mid, the M4 on site. Kill per piece. Christo provides support. Mistar's also in the mix. and Torsten is all alone.
Astralis talent getting closer to that double-digit marker on the comeback.
Let's go, boys.
But with another rifle round looming, you think, is this the one for Masonic that gets them to 15? Is this the one that gets them to series point? Now, this is where you might call a tactical chat with Black, just have that mental reset over the next few rounds to realize we're in prime position. Let's just make sure we're closing it.
Astralis are looking to close the gap. They have certainly closed up a fair number of rounds at this stage with 3 on the trot. Towards a 14-5, starting to get into a doable situation. Still unlikely at this stage with 6 rounds to go. Christo peeking out from short, expecting someone to make their way out from the mid-control. Sira might prod in shoulder bait. That was perfectly played from him.
That gives that information forward. Now, Frostev's got to focus his attention both towards short and connector, and Christo actually double dips.
Sira gets taken out for it, so advantage sits with Astralis. Meanwhile, Gensi's orb starts leaning. Patty may be a problem, though. If you're going to check connector, got to pre-aim that forward contact position. Meanwhile, the AK from mid leans forward. Patty checked, not seen. He's hiding behind that corner. I think he got seen right there, though. The duck down gave a pixel. And Gensi just waits to get his kill. MistGames found one of the mix, but Torsten's there for the trades back. Bro and Zipex peeking against the trades themselves. It's left to a 1-on-3.
And that's a great protocol there from Astralis talent. Peeking forward from top connector, peeking out there from window. Everyone working through, because you're right about the AWP vision, catching the eyes in there at connector. Looked as if Masonic had an advantage to work with. Astralis talent, though, just decimate with the amount of peaks that are being fought through.
5 more to go, and no bomb plant for Masonic means that we're going to see a pistol basis once again. The set piece execution into the A site seems to be on the table right here. Got 3 smokes and several flashes too, which just got posted out there to try and sell something on towards the initial take. Here they come, smokes inbound, connect the jungle and stairs. Bro at dark can line up so much here, and he gets them all for Gensi. Nothing he can do now.
Nah, not at all. Astralis talent, this is the one that gets him up to the double digits. A well held there from Bro towards Underbalk. Doesn't get pressured, doesn't lose a casualty, and keeps mentally strong in this comeback. Astralis talent know we've got what it takes to bring it all the way. Masonic, on the other hand, know that they're only a few from closing.
Astralis talent might not be as hype and loud as Masonic, but they are starting to feel themselves. Mentality game, the performance is starting to rise. It's 5 in a row now for these guys, 4 to make up against Masonic. It's now not an impossible comeback. A tactical was just taken by Black here.
And I think that stretch of rounds that we've just seen in the streak was probably the best streak of, set of rounds that we've seen from Astralis talent all game so far.
I like this. Win the probability right now, 75% for Masonic, 6% for Astralis. That will start to tip further and further to the middle as we go on for this. Christo upset, seeing one head, but unable to land on Sira, who's much quicker this time and giving very little breathing room for that AWP to strike. Torsten, his AK set. Bro gonna peek in, try, offer up his life, but MistGames trades places with him. Both players sponge the damage, but they get the opening kill.
Adelaide might try and think this is a moment to start walking forward to try and get that trade off, and that's why that incendiary's gone down. A lot of damage, a lot of map control. Sira's found his way all the way towards short, but he can't do anything with it, and on escape he gets caught by Zip.
5-on-3 situation. Astralis holding their own now, holding their bomb site and looking to hold on against the incoming hit. The Gensi will try and lead. The jump phase of ticket booth, the AWP saw it, try to go for the wall bang. The Molotovs will send him out of the way. Hayes back to return from the TT side though. Still desperately looking for MistGames. Finally, Gensi can land it. They're going to make progress onto the A site. They've still got Bro in the way.
And they've got to start working map control. Get that bomb plant open for the connector side. Patty's still trapped out here at jungle.
Plant secure. Bro goes down. Patty trades it back. Advantage still stays with Astralis, and Frostlev is left alone on the site. Needs that backup from Gensi after the fact, as he does get Christo, but now he's all alone again. This time with CTs still making their way into the bomb site. The nades come back towards him. He's forced to fall back for a moment, but they're on there now. Zipex gives up the ghost, and Gensi keeps peeking down to one-on-one. Patty's on the defuse. He's stuck the whole defuse. He's got the kit in, and Gensi will not peek it. They do unto Masonic what Masonic did unto them, and Astralis take 11.
And it was probably calm there that smoke actually wasn't on the bomb. If you look at that from Paddy's POV, he's actually sticking it with no coverage. So because that comm comes forward, that there's no smoke on the bomb, Gensi goes, there's no way he's going to stick it. I'm just going to play the time here.
14-11. Great effort for Gensi, but just not to be in the end. He didn't think about the fake. He believed it was on. Didn't happen like that. Set piece again, it seems like, from Masonic, setting themselves up into the A site very quickly here. Smoke's out already. Molotov sent the AWP of Bro. Not smoked off early, so he's allowed a kill alongside Christo's secondary AWP. A 5-on-3 situation. The bomb site under siege, but it's not taken by Masonic yet. They're going to extend out wide, try grab these kills, but look at Sirius HP.
They've got to start working something. They've got to get some map control to even try and focus on getting that bomb plant. And they're waiting for these smokes to clear. They're waiting for Jules.
Astralis are waiting for the bomb to get tapped. Start peeking off the back of that. Try and cripple Masonic. Risky plant, they tap it. The peek comes forward. Christo can land a wallbang headshot. Frostlev gets a couple back in. Bro's AWP can find the AWP for your battle against Gensi. And all three players inbound from CT. Frostlev, the veteran, could line them up. He gets that first, turns away from it, has absolutely no idea that they were both in the same position. Got caught overthinking it. And it's 12 now for Astralis.
Astralis talent are putting in a very good effort, and Masonic, it's proving that these youngsters are really struggling to get this over the line. Both AWPs striking. It's very rare that on a double AWP setup in Mirage, you play both AWPs towards A. You might have one connector and one out towards a B site anchor roll. Instead, you got Bro playing out there from CT and Christo out from connector, and it worked for a two-man advantage pretty much instantly with the XE. Missed window smoke.
A lot of room for Astralis now. Masonic making mistakes. Look at Zipex pushing in. Frostlev adjusted towards Torsten. Seen as well. The spray not quite good enough for the M4. The Galil can take it back, but a 4-on-4 with low HP on Torsten's part leaves Astralis at the advantage still.
And this is where you look at Sierra to make something happen. You've gone for the B-pop, you've used utility, now you've got to work a mid-round pick.
Oh, a spray from Sierra finally breaks his little slump and breaks him down. The same advantage now finally for Masonic. Again, the HP so quick and easy to trade upon. And Christo's AWP's there to cut them off from the connector control. Two CTs inbound from CT spawn meanwhile.
It's being watched though from Patty out there towards Sierra. Now they don't know about Gensi in from window.
Catches one off for it. Patty down. Christo, center of the site. The bomb is on its way towards B. He's considering the idea that maybe it might still be the A attack. Maybe he might be getting flanked. But Gensi's just looking to pull their attention to keep themselves second-guessing.
There's so much misdirection in this round. And for Christo, he's got no idea what's happening. Is he being wrapped from market or is it out from apps?
Shot missed, he burns. Adjustment's not there on Torsten's part, and now it leaves it all onto Bro. Astralis put in the hard yards, got 7 in a row. But unless this is a magical retake, this should not be around for him. He does find Gensi, but thinks better of it, saves the rifle.
Now he's going for this.
Oh, okay. All right. This reads on my part. Where are the other players? How can Bro read this position? He's given up his information already. They know he must be inbound from short. Eyes on market. Torsten adjusting. Hanley. Offsite anchor or no scope required. Gets it now to map match and semi-final point for Masonic.
That's a wacky round right there from the likes of Masonic, and what an all-important kill that was in connector. You saw that one pick to come through from the young man Asira, and then Torsten, he ends up fighting the last couple, and as soon as Christo misses that AWP shot towards Van, you just know he's done for. There's no room to work with.
Now Astralis have to play for overtime. Look at Mistar and Patty right down at underpass. They're looking to challenge direct on the main T side force. Gensi, however, finds that pick. Sira working in. The AWP's got both of them. Knocks him out of the round. Zipex stands alone. Backup's going to be far too late to support him. He's got to do this. It's a lone defender, second player, will drop towards the man, isolating each of these picks, but finally caught on the reload by Torsten's part. Advantage goes the way of Masonic, and a bomb should get planted.
Double orbs on the retake, Jay. This is the last kind of weaponry that you want to work in a round like this. Trapped out from Market, the spam comes through from Anlay, and now they know where Bro is. Playtime.
Nade to the backside, got to be a magical sequence from this AWP. Smokes into the window to give them less positions to cover from, but the jump face gives him the angle on Gensi. That was smart. What else is left? What more can he get? Sneaking forward, Unlay gets caught with a quick scope, one-on-one. Where's Torsten now? Checking around the last pillar. The fuse kit is on Bro, he's got to make a move in though. Torsten making his way around, checking the truck, checking the site, sees the man on the defuse, taps it, Orpa pulled out, but Torsten stalled for time. It's all over for Astralis as they get knocked out of the MistGames Heroes of Lofoten. It's Masonic in the grand finals.
And Masonic, for only the second time in an international event on land, they go to a grand final. An impressive showing once again from the underdogs in this event. Masonic have gone all the way.
Unbelievable stuff from them as well. To think they got such a great basis to work from in the first half of these map-ups. Obviously, the 12-3 from Vertigo turning to 16-4 in the end. The 10-5 at the start of this map-up, ultimately getting themselves to a 14-5 before Astralis found that mini comeback and it was closed off by the Masonic boys. What a match from them. And Astralis, they are going to be disappointed about that, I think, the way, because this at least should have been competitive at the absolute very least for them.
Yeah, and it was only competitive towards the end of Mirage, way too late into the game. You look at it from Masonic, the first international land that they ever went to was Fire League, where they unfortunately fell and choked at the seams. This has got to feel like such of a better run in form at another international land. 2-0ing the likes of Mouse NXT, 2-0ing the likes of one of our favorites in the tournament of Astralis Talon in a national derby matchup. This is a very good performance, not only today, but also in that Mouse series.
And to expand upon what we talked about earlier, yes, Astralis have blown out Masonic in the online environment. Coming onto land though, Masonic, that's two series where they've done extremely well now to take the victories. This is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And to think as well, just the confidence have been on show, Dwayne. Like, I think they've made a serious statement. And now, Prospects might be looking a little bit more worried in their own position, right?
Yeah, you've got to imagine so. Again, for Prospects, you look at their run and you think about how convincing it's been, how much of a statement they've been. I think Masonic have done exactly the same thing.
I think they have indeed. They certainly are the victors in today's proceedings as Astralis Talent get knocked out and the Danish derby goes the way of the Masonic camp. They move on to the grand finals of this particular stage. And we are joined now by quite a man, Like, my word, Sarah, what an absolute performance you had over the course of this series. Like, it's such a shock to me because I never know what to expect from like players who I've never really seen truly. But you've just surprised everyone, I think, in today's proceedings.
Yeah, it was a great match. I destroyed them on Vertigo and the city side on Mirage also, but it was like, we had a nice game plan, nice team performance, I would say, and I couldn't have done it without my teammates, I would say, because they are always helping and trying to keep me calm and always bring the best out of me, you know.
I want to ask about Vertigo, because obviously that was a map that you performed very well at against Mouse NXT, working that T side, getting up there towards a ramp control, opening up space. It felt like today you were just getting so many gaps. There was a lot of holes being opened. You were walking forward. I think there was that one round where you slipped the net completely. Is that Frostlev telling you to take a little bit more initiative, or is that you young man, saying, I'm going to make a play here? I've seen the timing.
Yeah, I would say it's a mix, because when I joined, I was playing a bit scared. I was just hiding behind the smoke, and then they said to me that I need to be the main on A, you know. And then I started to do it, and I think it's been going good. I find a lot of impact, and yeah,
Well, I think we want to take a look at some of that impact, because you pointed out some of the rounds, and I imagine there will be some of those where Sarah is, of course, involved with things. So let's have a look, see at what you wanted to highlight, Dwayne. Like, talk me through this, and Sarah, you can chime in as well.
Yeah, I just want to ask about the 2v2 and what the comms would have been like, because I think what we find here is that Gency's setting up a really late backstab, and they obviously have the tell that Zip's out towards default and Paddy's towards CT. So what's kind of going on in this kind of rounds?
So Gency told that he was behind, so Towson needs to like take attention, and yeah, so he could have a nice. And we knew both one were default and we knew one were CT. So when they killed the default guy, now I have to.
Yeah, this was what impressed us when it was live. The fact that Towson peeks towards CT rather than over towards default, because obviously from Paddy's POV, what are you going to do but just try and fight straight away? Now, this round gets a little bit uncomfortable for you guys. You've got a 3v4 deficit. Now, from our point of view, it doesn't feel like there's a massive information play, but somehow you decide to stack B. Was that a read on the round?
I think it's just something we watch in the demos, and that they like to go B. Especially I'm short player, so I need to have a big focus on that. And then I was just like, okay, we have to take a chance. Towson is sitting pretty good here. I take attention, and now we just destroy them.
Yeah, I think you can see it with the end of that round, Jay, how much of a brutal crossfire that really was. We've got another round here where you're up by 2. You've got Towson jump spotting now. You've taken the mid control, and it seems to be a pretty quick B pop. So what's the protocol here between you and Towson out on B?
Can't remember, but I think just we were a bit shocked that they didn't go, and Lele had a nice look here. He said they were running TV. Or yeah, Discord or what you say, and yeah. But I think we knew they were gonna go B at this point, because they haven't been B at all almost, and yeah, I think they maybe Towson had a warp before or something, so they will probably pop B. So I just said that I want to help him, and yeah, then I was ready with nades.
I think the thing that really caught our eye, Jay, in this round was the fact that you've got yourself into a position where there's just so many info plays. There's so much aggression coming through, and then obviously Frostlev just trying to pull distraction. You get the 2-for-1 right there from Gency and close that round down. We saw that in the Mouse NXT series, how much map control you were making on the CT side. Now, this is actually coming into a 14-8 kind of scoreline. Do you start getting the read more frequently that Christo's moving that AWP around the mid control?
Yeah, actually I was a bit shocked, because in our preparation we saw he was almost CT every round, I think. So he plays a lot from there, and then he started to do a lot of stuff in mid. So I was, yeah, he caught me off guard, and yeah. After that, I think we, especially got, I think Yensi spots him here.
Yeah, so this is the round where we'd maybe almost say the reverse positive here, Jay. You bring the distraction out towards Connector. This is a very good adjustment from Astralis to peek top con, to peek window, and maybe catch you guys slightly tunnel visioned looking up towards Connector. And maybe you get into a point here where the streak carries on for a little bit. It's now coming down to closing time. Zip makes an info play out here into the apartments, and it's a 1-for-1 trade. I was super impressed with your kill towards Connector. Now, in this round, was it you realizing you have to make a play in the mid?
Yeah, I saw my teammate got stopped by Zip's push, and they blocked really good, and I knew that I had to lurk here. I found the kill, and now I called my team to go B. I think we stopped up a bit here. Yeah, but as the answer on your question, yeah, I need to do something here, because my team is blocked, so it's me to make the next move. And here I told Gency that I heard him CT, and he can just, like, we call it rush and bait, where one is like playing and the other one is coming late. And I told him to do that so he would kill him, because I knew he was holding. So Paddy thought he had a great timing, but he didn't.
And I think what we noticed there was that one kill from you towards Connector has really changed up the round to create that space. Christo gets baited out here from the apartments, loses that fight, and that's pretty much a done deal. Close down the round to be able to get 15 and eventually get it over the line. So I think one thing that we're definitely seeing more from you, Sarah, as this land goes on is taking that initiative, getting some of those impactful kills, and we saw it in both maps in the series, yeah. But both of us are very impressed.
Yeah, in fact, we are so impressed that you are the MVP of this matchup. So a big congratulations to you, the fact that you've done so unbelievably well. I'm still stunned at the 30 kills you got there over on that Vertigo. And to be honest, Dwayne, I can't think of anyone better. Ciro's just played lights out today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and what's more that's going to be coming in the final, I guess, because you've had 3 back-to-back maps, incredibly good. You're probably the least experienced player at this event when it comes to both Pro CS and on LAN. Mate, you're just ripping it up like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you have to shake the chains when it comes, and yeah, it's funny playing on LAN. It's difficult with in-ears and not your own headset, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the final.
Awesome. Well, obviously, looking at that final, you got 0-0 prospects. They've been on their own tear. They've been on their own sort of run of form. That position that you have is going to be a very sort of unique one in that sense for the Masonic side. So give me some thoughts on that team, on that match. How are you guys going to prepare for tomorrow's proceedings?
I think they're a good opponent, and it's going to be a tough match. We also practiced them some time ago, and I think it was actually pretty tight. I can't remember. But yeah, it's going to be tough. We're going to, I think, take some hours off now, just get the adrenaline down, and then we're going to start preparing because we don't have that much time tomorrow before the final. And yeah, we're going to look at how their playstyle is and our own spots. What do they do on our own spots, us players?
All right.
Yeah, I want to touch on Mirage as well, because obviously it's kind of Mirage and Anubis, which is your 2 permabans normally, depending on the team you play. Track record wasn't that great on Mirage recently, but in a matchup like this, especially that first half, it felt like it was a lot more comfortable and very different to the last time that the team of Masonic got to play them. So have you been working on the Mirage recently?
Yeah, it has been one of our main goals to get it ready, because we knew some teams are thinking that they can like pick it against us because we have bad results, and I think Astralis Talent did that as well, but they got owned, so teams shouldn't do that, I think. Yeah, but that's been one of our main goals, preparing up to this event to get Mirage back in shape.
Awesome. So tomorrow, do you think you're going to win it all? Is it going to be a much more difficult struggle than against Astralis?
Yeah, I think we're gonna take it up. I think maybe Astralis Talent was the hardest opponent in this group, you could say, this competition. So, of course, 0-0 Prospects is a different opponent, but I think we can do it.
I'm looking forward to see how that one goes down, Dwayne. But for now, of course, Ciro, MVP of the tournament, not the tournament just yet, but certainly MVP of the matchup. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And that is Masonic, of course, looking like a lights out element in this particular case, Dwayne. I'll take a look at the grand finals tomorrow, of course, the 1300, I should say, 1 p.m. CEST. I almost feel like it should be it almost feels like it's sort of a bit weird coming like a few hours in front to get that grand final over and done with. But look, we just want to get into the action immediately because that is going to be such a significant matchup, I think, for this week.
And it's one that we probably didn't predict. Again, a lot of people coming into this event looked at prospects with the recent run of form being quite successful with Astralis Talent's results online leading up to LAN, obviously before the roster change, that's probably the most likely outcome in the final. And we've actually got Masonic here. So massive credit to go the way of the Danes to be able to put up 2 incredible back-to-back series to get into the final. It's not the one we were expecting, but it's a one that I think will deliver.
And certainly a one that I think will deliver in tomorrow's proceedings. Again, the slightly earlier start time of 1 p.m. CEST, where you join us back here in Lofoten for the grand finals of the MistGames Heroes of Lofoten between 0-0 Prospects and Masonic. We'll see you back there for all that action. But for now, good night and take care.